He was breaking, a prisoner in his own home, cast out from the world's strongest team, all for the crime of being a thief. Akoma's mind reeled. They were basking in glory, and he was their one great failure. Just then, crimson warnings flooded the sky. A titan of a monster clawed its way into reality, tearing the world apart. He believed he had a chance. One hit was all it took to shatter that illusion. With his final gasp, he reached out with his class's true power and stole a legend. The Divine Pocket Watch, an artifact that could rewind time itself by 10 years, offering the chance to awaken a power beyond imagining. The choice was obvious. Akoma was reborn in his younger body, his potential now limitless, his growth unmatched. He carves through monsters, he conquers dungeons, he earns double the experience. But to know the future, we must first face the past. We return to that moment, to a man shaking, unable to process the words his comrade had just spoken. After everything, they built this team from nothing, clawing their way to S-rank together. How could he possibly understand why it was all ending now? His companion's glare was ice. You still don't get it, do you? Fine, I'll say it again. And then he screamed his full name, Akoma Ichinose. The words hit him like a physical blow. We want you out of the glorious sword. 15 years before this betrayal, the world changed forever. Portals tore open the sky. These gates bled supernatural energy, unleashing the monsters that lurked within those other realms. And as they did, a fraction of humanity awakened. They gained abilities, levels, skills, just like in a video game. They could finally fight back. This new breed of warrior was humanity's only hope against the tide. They were called hunters. He stared at the strange, glowing script before him. With a thought, he accessed the system that would define his life. Hunters could choose their path, their class, but some, like mages, were glass cannons slow to cast, hard to master. A single mistake meant death. The young man hesitated, the weight of the choice pressing down on him. Then, he saw it. He chose the Bandit class. Its unmatched agility was perfect. His only goal, get experience, get strong, and survive. Akoma watched in awe. The plan was working perfectly. Experience points flooded his system at an incredible rate. He became a high-level hunter, earning the name times Swift Blade Asterisk. But as he rose, the world fell, the portals spewing ever greater horrors. A colossal wing blotted out the sun. It was a beast straight from nightmare, a twisted griffin. He met it on the front lines, fighting for his home, for everyone. And in his heart, he truly believed that's how it would be forever. He was so wrong. His leader's words cut through the air. We want him out. Akoma, stunned, could only ask why. But the man just scoffed, his patience gone. Don't play dumb. You know exactly why, he snarled. The monsters were evolving, hitting harder than ever before. And your little knife tricks? They don't even scratch them anymore. You're useless as support, a complete liability. Akoma's knuckles turned white, his rage a boiling sea. His former friend continued, sure, bandits were fast. That was their one trick. But that was years ago. Now, no one picks that trash class. Even a low-level mage hits harder than you. In fact, the guild is removing you from the S-rank roster. It's for your own good, so you don't get yourself killed in a high-level gate. Akoma tried to plead, to make them understand. I know my weaknesses. I can get better. But it was already too late. He'd put his life on the line for them, his unique skills, the only thing that could debuff and poison monsters that way. Their eyes locked for a tense moment, but the leader just noted he didn't seem too broken up about it. He told Akoma to keep it up. Confused, Akoma asked what he meant, but his companion just offered a cold, empty smile. Brushing past him, the man's words cut deep. Either way, you're off the team. And just like that, he was gone, leaving Akoma frozen in his wake. Akoma just stood there, the world spinning, the words not making any sense. Later, he was surrounded by a sea of empty bottles. A wasteland of trash and cigarette butts his only company. Tears streamed down his face, his world reduced to this mess. He sat on the filthy floor, a lighter flickering in his hand. His gaze drifted, landing on something that made the pain fresh again. Being a hunter. It was his entire world. He never got the credit, never got the fame, but he always believed his sacrifices would mean something. Ash fell from his cigarette, so this was his reward. This was what it was all for. He remembered how he was never strong enough, so he bought his own supplies, poured his own money into better gear. And for what? Now he didn't have a single cent to his name. He'd lost his rank and couldn't even step foot inside a high-level gate anymore. A notification lit up his phone. The glorious sword team, a successful expedition in China. They'd cleared the palace of Tati, a gate everyone had called impossible. The world was celebrating their victory. They were heroes. Meanwhile, Akoma was paralyzed, staring at the screen. He scrolled through the comments, a storm brewing in the chat. Where's Akoma? One asked. Kicked him out, another replied. Dude was dead weight. The words hit like physical blows. A surge of pure rage. He hurled his phone, watching it shatter against the wall. Why did he ever choose this life? He knew he could sell his gear. He'd have enough to get by. But it was never just about the money. Flashes of their time together, the battles, the trust. It all came rushing back. A raw scream tore from his throat. "I gave you everything!" He collapsed, hitting the floor with a hollow thud. He had nothing left. But then, a sharp alert pierced the silence. Akoma's eyes shot wide open. An S-rank monster. It had appeared in the Marima district of Tokyo. An urgent warning blared from the phone. "Evacuate immediately." A cold dread washed over him. The glorious sword team was out of the country. There were no hunters nearby who could possibly stop a beast of that caliber. He was no different. He was weak, alone. But then, his eyes fell upon his battle-worn equipment. A sliver of resolve cut through the despair. Maybe, just maybe, he could do time something asterisk. An armored behemoth tore through the sky. Akoma faced it head-on. "Good thing I didn't sell my gear," he muttered, a grim smile on his face. It was Kronos, the space-time dragon. So much more terrifying in person than the legends ever described. He took a deep breath. If this was the end, at least it would be a hunter's end, a blaze of glory. Akoma stared down the beast, his fear hardening into resolve. "Let's begin our final battle." The dragon answered with a world-shaking roar. The ground erupted. Debris flew everywhere. He charged forward. "I am a hunter," Akoma reminded himself. The mission was simple. Buy time. Let the people evacuate. Hold on until the other S-ranks arrived. He launched himself at the beast. Kronos met his charge, a blur of shadow and rage. Akoma froze. The monster's speed was impossible. A flash of movement. His dagger shattered into pieces. He desperately threw himself aside. He barely dodged. The world behind him erupted in a blinding explosion. The sheer destructive force was horrifying. The dragon roared, its eyes fixed on the powerless man. Akoma knew, one step closer, and he was dead. He summoned his twin-bladed scythe, Hydra. The blade struck home, but not a single scratch appeared on its scales. A cold dread washed over him. His poison. It was useless. The creature was completely immune. Without warning, Kronos swiped with its claws. Akoma's agility was his only saving grace. He dodged. Barely. He knew this was hopeless. There was no winning this fight. Not like this. His bandit class was the only reason he was still breathing. But now, he was trapped. Back against the wall, he had one last chance. He uncoiled a weighted rope, a sharp blade glinting at its end. He spun it, building momentum. He let it fly toward his foe. It was his time's Kleptoclaw asterisk, a skill used to steal an item from a target. He prayed the monster had something, anything, something that could give him a fighting chance. A glint of hope sparked in his eyes, just as the dragon's enormous claws descended upon him. The impact was absolute. It shattered his armor and tore through his body. Injured and broken, Akoma let out a bitter laugh. So, this is it. Pinned beneath the rubble, bathed in his own blood, he felt his life slipping away. Pain turned his vision into a gray haze. All those years spent saving others, only to die alone in the dirt. If only he had a chance to do it all over again. Through the blur, he saw something clutched in his hand. What was that? The Times Kleptoclaw asterisk. It had worked. It had stolen an epic item, the divine pocket watch. Its description defied belief. A one-time opportunity to return 10 years into the past. His mind reeled in shock. Go back. 10 years? A wave of agony ripped through him, dragging him back to his dying reality. Could it even be real? The ground shook. The dragon loomed over him, ready for the final blow. Akoma's hope vanished as he watched death approach. This was no time for doubt. He summoned the last ounce of his will. He clenched the watch and screamed, "Take me back! To the past!" The monster's massive claw filled his vision. A single talon plunged through his chest. Darkness began to swallow him whole. Suddenly, a loud, piercing noise. What was happening? He forced his eyes open. He was on the floor, next to his bed. An alarm clock was blaring in his hand. The display read, Friday, 20:30, 8 a.m. A cold sweat ran down his back. Akoma stumbled to his feet, muttering, "This has to be a dream." He ripped open the curtains. The former S-rank hunter stared, speechless, at the city outside. He fumbled for his phone. The calendar was from 10 years ago, the divine watch. It actually worked. He frantically pulled up his status window. He stared in utter disbelief. His class was listed as undefined. This wasn't a dream. He had truly returned. A faint smile touched his lips. This was his chance to do it all over again, the right way, with a silent, ironclad resolve. He swore to himself that he would become the strongest hunter in history. On the news, a reporter warned that casualties were being reported, demanding that the government immediately restrict entry into all active portals. He watched the broadcast while brushing his teeth, a ghost of his past life. An analyst argued that every year the monsters grew in number and power, and sending in the weak was just a death sentence. Akoma glanced at the watch. It was real. He was truly 10 years in the past. He remembered a time when people actually debated this, arguing back and forth. But eventually, the argument stopped. The brutal truth settled in. Everyone had to fight to survive, but knowing the future, that was the ultimate cheat code. He alone knew which monsters dropped the most experience, which dungeons hid the rarest items. But first things first, he needed a class, and for that, he had to hit level 10. Portals for low-level, classless hunters were scarce, so the guild kept a tight leash on the few that existed. He stood in a goblin den, a pathetic F-rank portal. Just one more kill, and he'd finally hit level 6. Suddenly, another hunter was cutting down goblins nearby. The older man let out a hearty laugh. "Right on time," he boomed. "You all right, kid?" Internally, Akoma just thought, asterisk, who the hell is this guy? Or asterisk. The man lectured him, saying a rookie like him never would have cleared this place on his own. He explained that goblins, while weak, get vicious in a pack. With a grin, he stuck out his hand. "The name's Kenji. A level 16 hunter," he explained, whose job was to keep newbies from getting themselves killed. "People call me the tutorial guy." Akoma's mind was less charitable. Asterisk. This guy must have way too much time on his hands. Asterisk. Kenji just shrugged, saying hunters don't have a retirement age. So, this was a decent way to make some cash. But for Akoma, the tedious grind was a suffocating reminder of his past failures. And then it happened. A flash of light. A surge of power. "Yes," he yelled, a genuine smile breaking through. "Level 10. Finally." The system chimed, confirming his level up and the acquisition of 2 new skill points. The old man started slapping him on the back, roaring with congratulations. "You did it, kid! Level 10. Akoma muttered his thanks. "Keep this up," Kenji said, "and you might even get famous someday." Akoma's eyes glinted. Asterisk famous? No, I'm aiming for S rank. Asterisk, Kenji told him it was time to pick a class, offering his expert guidance if he needed it. Akoma feigned contemplation. Every class offered a unique skill tree, a path forged by spending precious skill points. The old hunter suggested the swordsman class, so he could fight up close and personal, just like him. Then again, with your agility, Kenji mused, the bandit class would be a solid choice too. But his smile faltered when he saw Akoma hadn't spent a single point. "Kid, you do know how to use these, right?" He leaned in, concerned. "Didn't anyone tell you? You have to start with the mandatory skills. Asterisk light steps times and times. Fortitude, asterisk. Those 2 basic skills were the foundation, boosting a hunter's raw physical stats. They were considered non-negotiable for beginners who had no other way to defend themselves. But his goal wasn't just to be a beginner, it was to become a god. He couldn't afford to waste a single skill point. He only needed one. As he confirmed his choice, Kenji lunged forward, pleading with the boy not to do it. The old man's voice cracked as he began to rant. He yelled that damage resistance skills were a complete waste. Besides, when would Akoma ever need resistance to fall damage? Then, a system notification chimed. Asterisk, fall damage resistance times acquired. The old man's voice was strained, asking if Akoma was afraid of heights, warning him to be smarter with his next choice. But his shock only deepened. Kenji watched in horror as Akoma dumped 10 more skill points into the resistance, pushing it to level 2. He was losing his mind. Then another 15 points vanished as the skill evolved to level 3. Kenji looked utterly devastated. He muttered, his voice hollow, that the kid had just thrown away all his skill points on falling. Now, the boy had only 2 paths left. Become a swordsman, or live out his days as a civilian. But the protagonist simply assured him there was another way. The words struck Kenji to his core. Akoma chose the times Gravity Master times class. It was a hidden class, one that only unlocked when a player poured every skill point from levels 1 to 10 into times fall damage resistance asterisk. For the longest time, its very existence was a myth, hidden behind that absurd requirement. Even after its discovery, almost no one ever chose this path. Manipulating gravity was brutally difficult, but he had been an S-rank hunter before. He knew this wasn't just a good class, it was the absolute best. The old man screamed, ordering him to stop. This would make him a mage, a glass cannon. He insisted Akoma could still cancel, could still choose to be a swordsman. But Akoma's gaze was firm. This was exactly what he wanted. With that, the system confirmed it. He had acquired a new class, along with the abilities times gravitational manipulation times and times gravity magic asterisk. Seeing his success, a raw, triumphant shout ripped from the protagonist's throat. He was finally a mage. This time, he would become a powerful S-rank. This time, no one would ever look down on him again. Kenji's face was pale, his earlier anger replaced with a deep unease as he watched the rookie. He called out to him. He warned the boy that being a mage wasn't the power trip he seemed to think it was. The old man explained their fragility, their sky-high death rate compared to every other class. He even suggested that maybe being a hunter wasn't for him at all. Akoma watched him, unsurprised. He'd expected this reaction. Everyone always underestimated this class. Suddenly, Kenji's lecture was cut short by a blood-curdling scream. His face twisted in pure terror. "What is that thing?" he demanded. A red-hooded goblin, level 17. It had materialized from thin air. Frightened, Kenji stammered that a high-level monster shouldn't be able to spawn here. It was impossible. The goblin shrieked, charging a nearby female hunter. Kenji immediately rushed forward to help her get away. But a cold truth settled in his mind. He wasn't strong enough for this. It was why he'd never left this starting area. The rest of the hunters, they were all level 10 or below. No one else could stop this monster. Panic began to take hold. Then Kenji remembered the protagonist. Gripping his sword, he steeled his resolve and charged, declaring he would handle the goblin. Even Akoma was surprised to see a Red Hood here. He told himself Kenji's level should be enough to handle it, but a flicker of doubt remained. But the old man was on the defensive, barely holding on as the goblin pressed its relentless assault. He could see it clearly. Kenji had never fought a monster stronger than himself before. The old man screamed, desperate, "Is there a level 15 hunter here? Anyone higher?" They looked at Kenji. "Aren't you level 16? But he just shook his head, admitting he couldn't face anything above his own level. It was settled then. He couldn't help. The beast was too powerful. He couldn't even track its movements. A single hit would be instant death. And that wasn't even the worst of it. He still hadn't fully grasped his own new abilities. A Gravity Master's base stats were pitiful. But then, a memory surfaced. The old man's kindness, his genuine concern. And a cold realization washed over him. Letting a man like Kenji die here would be unforgivable. He gripped his sword. He'd always loved a good challenge. It was time to see if he could shatter his class's so-called weakness. "Your level is too low," the old man yelled, panicked. "You're a mage. It'll kill you in the blink of an eye." He ignored the warning, his eyes locked on the beast. He called out to the Red Hood. The monster, lost in its frenzy, turned its gaze. "I'll be using you," the boy declared, "to test my true potential as a Gravity Master." He believed this was the ultimate class. That's why he was betting his second chance on it. To run from something this weak, if he did that, his choice, his entire existence, would mean nothing. "Kid, get out of here," the old man pleaded, but it was too late. The monster drew its blade and charged. The curse of being a mage was always their fragile bodies, forcing them to depend on other hunters for protection. But he was different. As a Gravity Master, he could rewrite his own physical limits. He activated his skill, gravity reduction *. The world felt lighter as he cut the pull by 1/2, effortlessly sidestepping the monster's lunge. Kenji's jaw dropped. "How did you get so fast?" Akoma knew this power only allowed for straight-line movement, a severe limitation. But it was more than enough. Not when you can read your enemy's every move. The monster swung again. He dodged again. In his past life as a rogue, he'd faced down thousands of monsters at once with nothing but his speed. This was familiar territory. A flash of steel. The Red Hood recoiled, a fresh gash on its hide. The old man could only stammer, "How can a low-level mage move like that?" With perfect mana control and a deep understanding of the class, a Gravity Master could overcome any physical weakness. "Low-level monsters fight with simple patterns," Akoma stated, his focus absolute. "They're easy to read. I just need to be faster." The old man stared, asking Akoma how any of this was possible. Akoma broke his concentration for a second, shouting, "Old man, now, finish it!" Kenji snapped to his senses and charged, sword raised. The boy stood his ground, watching the monster's eyes shift, tracking the old man who was rushing in for the kill. A cold smile touched Aoma's lips. "How dare you turn your back on me?" He unleashed his magic. Gravity. The goblin froze, pinned to the spot by an unseen force. It was completely paralyzed. And then, it heard a sound from directly above. The old hunter readies his final blow. With a decisive strike, the beast falls, and the protagonist gains 2 levels in a flash of light. Staring at the goblin's corpse, Akoma can hardly believe it. A slow smile spreads across his face. This single fight proved it. He could become the greatest hunter of all time. Onlookers murmur, shocked that a new face took down the Red Hood so easily. Kenji's mind reeled. The kid had somehow outpaced the monster, despite being a low-level nobody. He watches the boy, stunned that the brat doesn't even grasp the impossible feat he just accomplished. Still shaken, he mutters that the rookie has more than just talent, left wondering who Akoma truly is. Suddenly, a crippling pain sears through the protagonist. He collapses against a rock, his body screaming. His mana was completely gone. He'd have to learn control. He had the power, but this raw state would get him killed. On the other hand, the old man's face was one of pure relief. He rushed over, thanking him profusely for the help. "Need a lift?" he offered. Akoma flushed with embarrassment, but he was too weak to refuse. So many hunters were in that portal, but only he, a hunter for a mere few days, had stepped forward. The old man's thoughts were a silent prayer of thanks. The kid had reignited the courage he'd lost long ago. Fear had made him weak, forcing him to hunt only fodder well below his rank. But that was the old him. He wasn't the tutorial guy anymore. Today, he would walk out of this gate a victor. Kenji simply nodded. It was an honor to witness a hero's birth. After thanking the old hunter, Akoma knew one thing for sure. That gate proved he was a true Gravity Master. His next goal was simple, level up. But hunting alone was inefficient, a damn death sentence. He needed a team he could trust. At the association, an attendant looked doubtful. "A class related to gravity? I've never heard of that." Her eyes scanned his stats. Can you really be a hunter with numbers this low? He brushed it off, asking if any teams were recruiting. The woman confirmed there was one team that accepted anyone, regardless of class or level. A flicker of hope. He asked if she could make an introduction. She grew nervous. You're a mage class with extremely low attributes, she stammered. You'll likely be rejected. He wasn't surprised. Rare classes were always misunderstood. He knew acceptance wouldn't come easy. Just give me their contact information, the protagonist said with resolve. I'll deal with it. A voice cut in. Stop harassing the staff. Just give up and get out of here, the stranger sneered. Akoma turned. And who are you? The man laughed. You must be new if you don't know me. I'm Kakaru, from the Thunder Knights. He puffed out his chest. Every hunter knows our name. The protagonist's eyes narrowed. All melee attackers, I presume. Kakaru confirmed it with a sneer. Mages are useless, just a bunch of cowards who are too scared to get close to a monster. He spat on the floor. People like that don't deserve the title of hunter. You should have done your homework before picking a class, Kakaru said, his gaze dripping with disdain. And those attributes are just pathetic. He leaned in close. You're an insult to rare classes. Akoma's expression went cold. Does that mean you have a rare class too? Kakaru smirks. You want to see what I can do? He levels his sword at the kid. Then watch this. He raises his blade, calling on Time's lightning summoning, asterisk. This, he boasts, is the ultimate class. Unbeatable attributes, unstoppable skills. A ripple of shock moves through the crowd. Murmurs spread. I've never seen a class like that before. The show-off basks in their awe. The attendant cuts in. Sir, using abilities in here is forbidden. But Kakaru just waves her off. The brat needed to understand his place. He sneers. Look, it's none of my business. But you've got some nerve trying to join a party. While the guy's ego inflates, Akoma's mind is already dissecting him. A Thunder Knight. High damage output, for sure. But his movements are rigid, predictable, useless in a complex fight. So, he's dead meat against anything fast. Or worse, anything immune to lightning. He's a walking liability. The crowd jeers, mage classes are worthless, and all this drama just to get on a team? But others just stare, their eyes filled with envy for Kakaru's flashy Thunder class. Akoma notes that portals were still a new concept back then. So their ignorance wasn't a total shock. He thinks to himself, I'd almost forgotten how badly they treated mages in the beginning. They thought raw stats and flashy skills were everything. It looks like he'll have to do this alone. The attendant turns to Kakaru. There was no need to be so cruel. She looks at Akoma with pity, but he just thanks her. It's my fault for asking, he says, his voice flat. I'll go solo for now. The loudmouth scoffs. You should reconsider being a hunter at all. I'd rather not find your mangled corpse in some ditch, he calls out as Akoma walks away. Thanks for the advice, Akoma says over his shoulder, never breaking his stride. Kakaru just watches him go, a smug look plastered on his face. In a quiet corner of the Hunter Guild, Akoma reads, earning their trust will take too long. That means no parties for the foreseeable future. He needs a long-term ally, someone he can count on, or at least a class that has good synergy with his own. But before any of that, he has to level up. He needs to accomplish something they can't ignore. Taking down the Red Hood was easy. It showed him just a fraction of what a gravity user is capable of. So, should he push himself? A portal with monsters above his level. He scans the list, and his eyes land on the perfect target, the level 25 statue temple. Controlled portals, managed by the guild. They're left open so hunters can grind for experience. The alpha monster there is the Stone Knight. It's the ideal hunting ground for low-level hunters to make some cash. And if he can dominate the monsters in there, maybe, just maybe, a few teams will start to notice him. People can even enter underleveled. They just stick to the entrance, picking off the weaker mobs for experience. Akoma closes the book. A fire lights in his eyes. I can do this. His path is set. Level up in the statue temple, then find his crew. Deep inside a dungeon, a man sprints down stone steps. He's bleeding, ragged. This is insane, he pants. It makes no sense. His foot catches. He's sent sprawling. A blood-curdling scream echoes. He stares up in pure terror. A deafening crash shakes the chamber. A stone monster stood motionless, its shadow falling over him. He was covered in blood. The attendant's eyes went wide. Level 12. And he wanted to enter the statue temple alone. But Akoma just stared back, his voice flat. There's no rule that says I can't. Her voice trembled. I know that, but you're throwing your life away. The recommended level is 25, she pleaded, and anything can happen inside a dungeon. Akoma was already walking away. I'm just taking a quick look, he called back over his shoulder. I won't be long. Standing before the shimmering gate, his resolve hardened. To get stronger, he had to risk it all. He'd always fought things stronger than him. It was the only way. Without that constant struggle, he would never evolve. But this was different. One kill in here could skyrocket his level. It was a gamble worth taking. He moved cautiously past rows of silent statues. Then, a glint. A crystal embedded in one of their foreheads. It lunged. A stone fist aimed for his back. He sidestepped. Saw you coming. Akoma's status window flashed. Level 20. He locked eyes with the stone creature. I can handle this. He weaved through a barrage of stone strikes. Then, a wall at his back, he was cornered. The golem closed in, relentless. He triggered times gravity reduction asterisk. Light as air, he shot upwards, escaping the trap and landing a solid blow on the way down. However, not a single scratch. Akoma smirked. Tough hide. But this thing couldn't kill him. His eyes traced the fractures in its stone body. He saw every weak point. He exploded into motion, a flurry of strikes against the statue. Chips of stone flew. He was doing damage, but it was slow. This was going to be a grind. I expected this much, he muttered as the monster charged again. This could take a while, but it was the perfect chance to test a theory. He activated times gravity reduction times again, dodging the incoming blow with ease. Then, he reversed it. Gravity intensified. He aimed his sword straight down at the statue. One strike. The blade plunged deep into its chest. A crimson light pulsed from within the cracks. The golem split in two. Lighter to get faster, he explained to the empty room. Then, heavier to hit harder. The combination amplified his power, just as he'd calculated. Notifications flooded his vision. He'd jumped multiple levels. No point in waiting, he said, pulling up his status window. I know exactly what to do. He scanned his points. Enough for just one major upgrade. The choice was obvious. He poured everything into times, gravity manipulation times, and confirmed the selection. It evolved. Level 2. Now he could control the gravity acting on his own body. A satisfied smile touched his lips. He could control the times, direction, times of the force now. Oh, he was going to find a good use for this. But the level up was a bonus. The real prize was the demon stones, the very core of these monsters. This was his proof. He had killed a stone knight. He had what he came for. But his mana bar was still nearly full. He scans the area, hungry for more. Several other statues remain. Perfect. It was time to truly test this new power. Without warning, a bolt of lightning descends from the ceiling, obliterating one of the statues. The Thunder Knight's party was hunting in the same gate. One of Kakaru's companions grins, impressive, as always. He'd felled the monster in a single strike. The woman notes the stone knights resist electricity, but his power was just on another level. The man scoffs. Way too easy. Are all controlled gates this pathetic? Laughing, he complains that leveling up is taking too long, suggesting they find a gate with some real monsters. He grinds his boot on a still glowing stone from the blast, a silent, contemptuous gesture. His companion asks softly, "Don't you think you were too harsh on that kid from the guild?" Kakaru scoffs. Someone had to teach him his place. I did him a favor. The weak die in places like this. It was a wake-up call, even if it was rough. Someone had to say it. That's not how it looked, his colleague mutters. Suddenly, a deafening crash echoes from the next chamber. Sword drawn, Kakaru asks, "Is it the same monster?" His friend observes the space is much larger than the last, but Kakaru dismisses it. So what? Some are bigger than others. It means nothing. But then, a colossal stone warrior emerges from the shadows. His companions freeze, asking, "What is that thing?" Kakaru's eyes gleam with excitement. Finally, something interesting. A level 30 statue, towering over everything they'd faced. His friend, voice trembling, insists, "We can't fight a level 30 monstrosity." Indifferent, Kakaru says, "You know, I've been thinking about something lately. Monsters at my level are a bore. They're too easy. We're the Thunders. We're built different than other hunters. I want to see what this one can do." The golem raises its massive weapon. It strikes. The ground shatters. "Are you sure about this?" his teammate yells. Kakaru smirks. "There are 3 of us." "It's big and high level, sure," he says. "But stone knights are just moving statues. That makes them slow and predictable." The monster attacks. A blur of stone and fury. He barely dodges. A bead of sweat traces his temple. Now apprehensive, he admits, "Okay, maybe it's a little faster for its level." He leaps forward, blade crackling. Doesn't matter. One solid hit and I'll find its weakness. His lightning sword crashes against unyielding stone. A flicker of doubt crosses his face. It's defense. It's on another level, too. The Stone Knight's massive sword is already rising for another strike. No hesitation. A devastating blow descends. He activates his times. Thunder Knight times power. Asterisk. I can block this. Asterisk, he thinks. Asterisk. Just block and get out of its range. Asterisk. But the statue moves with impossible speed. He's hit. A deep gash splits his chest open. He collapses to the cold floor, questioning how anything could be so powerful. Raw fear grips him. "Only a few items are higher level than me," he chokes out. "But this thing, it's on a whole nother level." His terrified companion screams, the sheer mana warning them not to underestimate this enemy's strength. But the words die in his throat. The statue is already lunging for the girl. She barely parries the blow, her sword screaming under the strain. "Karen!" Her teammate cries out as she's violently thrown back. He's next. A brutal strike to the stomach makes him spit blood, the impact echoing through the chamber. His friends are down. Cold terror floods Kakaru's veins. He stammers, "What? What is this?" He stares up at the colossal knight, wondering if it was always this monstrous, this absolute. Gritting his teeth, he summons his power. It doesn't matter. I'm special. A storm of lightning erupts, crashing against the knight. He poured everything he had into that strike, every last drop of power, but his hope shatters when he watches the statue's blade swing. His own sword explodes into pieces. Helpless, he can only scramble back in a desperate retreat. Raw, unfiltered panic takes over. Tears stream down his face, his composure completely gone. But the monster doesn't stop. It just keeps coming, closer and closer. This can't be real. The stone sword rises for the final blow. No! Kakaru screams. I don't want to die like this. On the ground before him, his broken sword is a reflection of his broken will. The knight just watches, as if staring down an insect. Trembling, his pride forgotten, the man bows to the monster, begging for his life. Please, don't kill me, he shrieks. Somebody, save me. And as the massive stone blade descends, a leg wreathed in purple energy slams into the ground. The protagonist, he's here. He activates time's gravitational reduction asterisk. The statue freezes mid-swing, held fast by an unseen force. Its head swivels, searching for the source. It spots a purple glow on its own ribcage. A short distance away, the protagonist lands. Knew that wouldn't hold it for long, he mutters to himself. You, Kakaru stares. You're that rookie from the guild? The mage? The boy offers no reply. Fear twists into frustration. What are you doing? Get out of here! You can't possibly beat that thing. Now at level 16, the protagonist knows the terrified hunter has a point. This won't be easy. It's a level 30 stone knight, an irregular that must have grown strong by devouring countless others. Even so, he can't deny the sheer presence of the beast. It's magnificent. He just wanted a light stroll, a quick monster kill before heading home for the day. He never ever imagined he'd run into something of this scale. Stop admiring it and run, you idiot, the man on the ground screams. It wiped us out before we could even react. The two bodies lying nearby are grim proof of his words. He ignores the warning. Energy flares. Asterisk. Gravitational reduction. Asterisk. The monster tenses, preparing to answer in kind. It unleashes a devastating attack. But he's faster. A blur of motion. He dodges. The statue shifts its weight, its strike changing direction mid-swing. The moment his feet touch the stone, he launches himself into the air again. He soars above the attack, positioning himself perfectly over the monster. His blade descends, aimed right for the knight's head. Pinned to the ground, Kakaru's mind reeled. This was impossible. How could a low-level rookie mage even stand against this thing? A monster of this caliber, and he was fighting it to a standstill. Aoma knew the creature was high level, but it was slow. He could easily dance around its attacks. The real problem was its armor. The Stone Knight's defense was insane. He had no skill strong enough to break through. Worse, his mana was bleeding out with every use of his manipulation. The clock was ticking. Time was running out. The statue reared back, its stone arm poised to crush him. Aoma dodged, a grim thought crossing his mind. This was reckless, but he had to try. The monster's sword crashed down as he sidestepped the blow. Kakaru watched, a sliver of hope dying within him. He knew it was a long shot, but he'd prayed the kid could pull it off. But just like his own, the rookie's attacks weren't working. That gravity-nullifying skill of his was a massive mana drain. He couldn't fight the strong ones without it, but he couldn't afford to drag this out either. This had to end now, one way or another. Another massive slash tore through the air. He dodged. He jumped. Aoma spun mid-air, building momentum. Then, he slammed his own gravity down, pinning the monster's sword to the floor. A stone fist flew at him. He leaped again, evading the strike, and landed squarely on the monster's head. How is he moving like that? Kakaru stammered, his eyes wide. Is that his class ability? Aoma crouched on the monster's head. He really wanted to save his level 2 manipulation skill, but he was out of options. He whispered the command, asterisk, reverse gravity asterisk. Suddenly, he was upside down, his feet planted firmly on the cavern ceiling, watching the confused beast search for him below. A grim smile touched his lips. This was interesting. He readied himself. From this height, he could definitely deal the damage he needed. It was time to end this. He activated times, gravity increase, asterisk. His sword felt heavy in his hands. This would multiply his weight, and combined with the fall's acceleration, he would hit like a meteor. It's too late, he yelled down at the monster. You can't stop this. He plummeted, a living projectile, and unleashed his final skill to end it all. Asterisk, meteor fall, asterisk. The giant was cleaved in two, its stone body crumbling into dust. A notification rang, 524 experience points gained. He shot up from level 16 to 23, earning 14 new skill points. A smirk played on his lips. The plan worked. He'd just killed a monster nearly double his level. No wonder the power boost was so massive. Victory. Aoma let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. He dropped to one knee as his fall damage resistance leveled up to 3. The impact had been brutal, he thought, but gaining that resistance early was more than worth the pain. Kakaru could only stare, completely stunned. Incredible, he whispered. His own lightning attacks had done nothing against its resistances, yet this mage, this rookie, had shattered it. A deep sense of shame washed over him. He looked at Aoma and asked, "After how I treated you at the guild, why did you save me?" But the man's relief vanished, replaced by sheer panic. He thought Akoma was here for payback, and his heart hammered in his chest when Akoma's voice cut through the tension. He simply asked if Kakaru could stand, if he was all right. Kakaru froze, stunned by the genuine concern. A nervous laugh escaped him. This wasn't the vengeance he'd braced for. He reached out, shaking Akoma's hand, thanking him for the save. Later, back at the Hunters Guild, the receptionist's jaw hit the counter. She stammered, demanding to know what he meant. A level 30 stone knight? Here? Her eyes widened in disbelief. And he'd actually defeated it? Akoma just nodded, his expression unreadable and calm. Impossible, she insisted. He was a rookie. He was alone. In response, he placed the monster's core on her desk. "Is this proof enough?" he asked. The receptionist stared. A core that large could only come from a level 30 beast, or stronger. As unbelievable as it was, she had to register it. She asked if he wanted to cash it in. It was worth a cool 200,000 yen. But Akoma shook his head. Not right now. He needed it for something else. Something more important than money. Just then, a familiar voice called his name. It was Kakaru. He'd been searching for Akoma, not just to offer thanks, but to make him a life-changing offer. With a grand gesture, Kakaru posed the question, "How would you like to join the Thunder Knights?" A hush fell over the guild. The Thunder Knights, the hottest rising team, were scouting someone? Then they saw the core in Ayakoma's hand. Whispers erupted. This guy had to be the real deal. Kakaru beamed, telling him it was his lucky day. An offer like this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Akoma, however, seemed completely unfazed. Kakaru urged him not to be shy, but Ayakoma's reply was quiet and firm. "I'm sorry, but I have to refuse." The smile vanished from Kakaru's face. He stammered, asking for a reason. "But, aren't you looking for a team?" "I was," Akoma admitted, "but things have changed." And with that, he turned and walked away. He left Kakaru standing there, utterly stunned. Ayakoma's mind, however, was already on the future. If he kept growing at this pace, then his goal was within reach. Soon, a unique gate would open, the theater of maniacal dreams. Inside, a one-of-a-kind item was waiting. And thanks to the memories of his past life, he would be the only one who knew how to claim it. Days later, a heavy pouch of cores slammed onto the guild's counter. The other hunters flinched. The same receptionist looked up, her expression weary. "How do you bring back so many, every single time? I thought you worked alone." Akoma ignored the question. "There's one more thing." He requested a promotion to D rank, a necessary step, since only D rank hunters and above could enter the real portal disasters. The receptionist sighed, explaining the rules. "You need to be at least level 25 for a rank-up evaluation." Akoma just projected his status window. "Then there's no problem." His level glowed brightly, 26. Her eyes bulged. A solo mage. At that level already? It defied all logic. "How could anyone level that fast?" she whispered, her voice laced with suspicion. "It just isn't possible." The receptionist then asked if gravity masters were really that strong. After some time, Ekomai had finally been promoted. Now he had more than just an amazing class, along with his 10 years of knowledge and experiences as a rank as hunter. Leveling up too quickly could attract attention he didn't want, but still he needed to hurry to get there on time. Many portals become available once a hunter is promoted to rank D, also making it easier to join teams. The most important part was that this would allow him to enter the portal where that great, unique weapon would appear. The hunter who got such a weapon in his past life became a serial killer, probably because he obtained such powerful strength all at once. But this time, he wouldn't let that fall into his hands. And for that, he needed someone to help him clear the portal. He began observing around Emating that there was no need for a large team, as that could be problematic at a certain level. At least having one more person would help, as he preferred to be cautious at the moment. But for that, he needed to find someone who could complement him with gravity, stability. Him wondered what abilities would be suitable for the portal he was about to face, and the most appropriate would be to find someone who worked alone but also wasn't against teamwork. The protagonist thought for a moment, complaining that maybe he was being too demanding. To find someone in time, he would need to search all the guilds in the region. After some time, he admitted that he had spent half of his day visiting the guilds. This was already his 4th guild. As he entered through the door, he said maybe he should give up on some things. Suddenly, he saw someone calling their companion useless. A girl almost crying apologized, but her colleague said that an apology wouldn't change anything. Komao wondered what they were arguing about. The girl pointed at Satsuki, stating that she was fired. The girl tried to beg, assuring she would try harder, but irritated, the leader said that their abilities were terrible with long cooldowns, claiming those techniques were useless. She said that in fact she should be paying them for putting up with the dead weight for so long. The girl didn't know how to respond. Meanwhile, the protagonist was observing everything. He recalled when he was expelled from that group, but told himself there was nothing he could do for her. After all, he couldn't have a partner simply out of sympathy. His life depended on this. His ex-leader started mocking Satsuki, saying it was a shame she had chosen such a useless class, claiming it was something miserable and useless, just like her. Moreover, she said she knew what would happen the moment she heard the girl was a witch. For some reason, that made the protagonist extremely interested, even as the others told her to give up on being a hunter. Sorcery and gravity complement each other. She could deal a lot of damage against the boss in the portal theater. That's why he was a bit uncertain if he should recruit her or not. However, the girl asked what he was looking at. The protagonist introduced himself, saying he was a ranked D hunter looking for a team to join. She quickly became interested when she saw he had a ranked D hunter license. The girl tried to seduce him, informing him that she had just opened a spot in her group and asked if he would like to fill it. Excitedly, he called out to Satsuki. He asked if she wanted to join his party. The girl looked lost, completely unsure of what was happening. Her former teammate just stood there, baffled. Akoma knew he couldn't let this chance slip by. She was a times witch, times the very person he'd been searching for. But the other woman cut in, telling him not to waste his time on that girl and to join her group instead. Flushing with embarrassment, Satsuki thanked him for the offer but pointed out that he was an E-rank hunter, and she wasn't even level 20 yet. Taking her by the hand, Akoma promised it wouldn't take long for her to level up. He insisted that he needed her help. "My class is useless," she whispered. "I don't want to drag you down." Despite her words, he held firm. "I can help you," Akoma said again. Her eyes fell. "I have no confidence. Maybe it's better if I just quit for good." "I won't ask for much," he pleaded, his voice low. "Just give me one chance." He assured her he could help her find the confidence she was missing. Bowing her head, Satsuki finally relented. "If you really mean it, then I'd love to join your group." But her ex-teammate sneered. "I can't believe you chose someone so worthless for your party. You're going to regret this," she spat. The boy simply thanked her for the advice, then said he had one more thing to add. As he walked past her, the protagonist stated coolly, "When it comes to classes, I know more than anyone." His new partner followed close behind. A times witch times could cover the weak points of a times gravity master asterisk, and the best part was that her class could pull off incredible feats inside a dungeon. That potential was as valuable as any of his own weapons. A short time later, they stood in a new location. The protagonist thanked her for coming along. "Witches aren't really that useful, you know," she mumbled. "I'm from a mage class too," he replied. "You might think you're useless right now, but that's going to change in a few years." "Do you really believe that?" she asked. He confirmed it. "But for now, we need to talk about a certain portal." The girl assured him she was ready, but her voice wavered. He explained that this wasn't some controlled gate. They had just stepped into a portal that hadn't even officially appeared yet. One with a recommended level of 30 or higher. Her eyes widened. "Level 30? And on top of that, it's an uncharted portal?" "Uncharted portals are gates that haven't been open long enough for anyone to analyze the dangers within." Her voice trembled with panic. "But I'm only level 17, and my class is terrible." But he was calm. "Don't worry, nothing will happen to you. I'll handle the fighting alone." In his past life, he had memorized every available record on portals. It was how he'd built his entire strategy for conquering this dungeon. "The two of us can clear this, easy," he declared. "You just have to trust me." He felt a pang of guilt for dragging someone into this, but he had to protect the weapon inside, no matter the cost. Satsuki's voice was full of disbelief. "How did you know about a portal that hasn't even shown up yet?" Akoma hedged. "I can't reveal all the details. But long story short, it was thanks to a rare item." She didn't believe it. After all, there was no way an item could predict a portal this far in advance. Suddenly, a shrill alert blared from every phone in the area. Her hands shook as she grabbed her device to see what was happening. The protagonist did the same. The city was in an uproar over the new portal alert, especially being so close to the Sikyo district. Satsuki's eyes widened. Was this the portal he'd mentioned? But Akoma was firm. Their dive would wait until tomorrow. He figured no one could clear this dungeon in under a week, but the reward for felling the boss was more than worth the risk. Soon enough, they were scouting the portal's location when she had to ask, her voice trembling, if Akoma was a certainty. They saw it then. The Portal Eradication Ministry had already cordoned off the area. An official rushed toward them. "Are you two hunters?" She pleaded with them to report anything they found, the dungeon's layout, monster abilities, anything at all. But she stressed their safety came first. Too many hunters had already been lost inside these uncharted gates. They assured her the ministry could count on them. The moment she was gone, Satsuki turned on him. "Why didn't you tell me we were going for the boss?" Akoma's answer was brutally simple. "Because you would have tried to stop me." Stepping through the shimmering gate, he warned her that this place felt different. He glanced back. Still nervous? A choked yes was all she could manage. Akoma's voice softened. "I'm sorry for asking so much of you." He promised he would fight all the monsters alone, and if he couldn't handle it, they would pull out immediately. But those words, leaving, being left behind, triggered a familiar, cold dread in her soul. I'll do my best," Satsuki blurted out. "You can even use me as bait." Akoma's expression hardened. That won't be necessary. Just focus on casting your spells. She looked down, ashamed. I don't know any useful skills. He cut in. Can you use times mana drain asterisk? The skill siphons mana from a target, a complete game changer in drawn-out fights against powerful beasts. And since it lets you transfer that stolen mana to an ally, it's the perfect support ability for a gravity user. With her acting as his battery, Akoma wouldn't have to worry about his mana reserves against any drainable monster. Satsuki shook her head. The casting time is too long and the mana cost is terrible. It's better to use a direct damage spell. In his mind, Akoma considered her logic. Asterisk. Maybe if you were a damage dealer, asterisk, he thought. Out loud, he just said, I'll fight at my absolute best. That will buy you all the time you need. Their first opponent, a massive, grotesque clown bear, he weaved through its clumsy swipes. Satsuki, now. She conjured a pulsing orb of shadow. The spell slammed into the beast. It roared in agony. Akoma saw it. An opening. The monster's guard was shattered. He coiled his legs, ready to spring. In a flash, he was airborne, directly over his foe. He unleashed his gravity. His body became a meteor, sword aimed for its skull. It was over. Akoma casually sheathed his blade, his eyes already scanning for the next threat as 212 experience points flowed in. Too easy. Satsuki gasped, staring at her status window in disbelief. I gained 3 levels at once. Her excitement faded, replaced by guilt. But I let you do all the work. Akoma shook his head. I'll need your help as we go deeper. We're a team now. That means you have to get stronger too. Her breath hitched. A team? This felt real. It was nothing like the hollow words she'd always heard from Awa. A genuine smile touched her lips. Okay, I'll be more useful in the next fight, Satsuki declared. Akoma simply nodded. Just don't overdo it. But he could see the nervous energy still thrumming beneath her newfound resolve. He told himself it would be fine. They would crush the boss, secure the rare items, and walk away clean. In his last life, a man named Kowu got his hands on that item. He became the most infamous criminal in the history of the portals. But that guy never got strong in this timeline, so the chances of them finding it are 0. After all, 2 days had passed since the theater opened. Elsewhere, a battle raged, a hammer swung, a body dodged, a wild laugh echoed. He activated a skill times, life giver times, and delivered a final, lethal strike. Blood splattered across his ragged loincloth. As the body slumped to the ground, Karu sneered, You should have known better than to challenge me. A notification flashed. Another level up. The madman grinned. These weaklings gave a shocking amount of experience. He mused that humans never turn on each other. It makes them so much easier to hunt. Already level 36. Meanwhile, back with our hero's party, Akoma activated times gravity increase asterisk. A sphere of dark energy materialized. He slammed the jack-in-the-box clown into the floor with overwhelming force. Embarrassed, Satsuki admitted that just by casting a few spells from the backline, she'd already hit level 22. It feels like I've gained so much for doing almost nothing, she said. You probably could have done all this by yourself. But Akoma shook his head. It's only this easy because we haven't faced a real monster yet. These things just have simple attack patterns. Trust me, he reassured her. The witch class is incredibly powerful. It really doesn't feel like it, she mumbled. Changing the subject, Satsuki asked, So, are we heading out now? You've used a ton of mana, and mine is almost empty. He explained that he was using times gravity manipulation times to boost his stats. That's what's draining it so fast. Satsuki pointed out, The guild says to pull out once your mana drops below 50%. A sly grin spread across his face. Perfect, time to test something out. Before them stood a lone clown goblin. You ready? Akoma asked, a glint in his eye. He moved. The monster was instantly immobilized. Now, Akoma commanded, use times mana drain asterisk. Satsuki just stared, completely stunned. By trapping monsters and siphoning their energy, they could create an infinite mana battery. Then, she could transfer that power directly to him. I get it, she stammered. But can you at least cover its face? Akoma shrugged. Can't do that without wasting a skill. Seeing no other choice, Satsuki began to channel her times, mana drain asterisk. See? Now we can keep going, Akoma said, while Satsuki quietly mourned for the poor, shriveled creature. The goblin lay twitching on the ground, utterly defeated. Okay, I'm transferring the mana now, she announced, but Akoma cut in. Why are you blushing? Don't make this weird, he sighed. Awkwardly, she began transferring the mana to her companion. Akoma watched his mana tick up from 16 to 25. Huh, Satsuki admitted. That wasn't as efficient as I thought. It took all that time for just 9 points. Akoma's grin returned. Exactly. That's why we're going to do it to 6 more. Her eyes went wide. Wait, are you serious? We're really going to do that? It's the perfect chance to grind, he declared. Moments later, his blade bit into the flesh of the next target. That makes 6, the protagonist noted. How's your mana? She replied. Almost fully recovered. Satsuki's level shot from 20 to 22. Akoma only leveled up once. The girls buzzed with excitement, ready to keep this pace all day. But Akoma tempered their hype. If we take too long recovering mana, we're asking for an accident. Still, he could fight these monsters from dawn till dusk. They would never lose. He glanced at his status window. Satsuki stared at her own stats, amazed. So many levels, in just one day. This was nothing like the portal runs she'd known. The guild always taught us to never face monsters above our level. He listened, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. Standing, he said, "The guild has to recommend that. It's for safety. But you rarely get stronger without pushing the limits, without facing down high-level monsters to claim the skills and experience they hold." She watched him, his words igniting something within her. Her expression hardened with newfound resolve. Sometime later, walking through a ruined cathedral, Satsuki asked, "Are we really going to clear this entire portal?" He stopped abruptly. "We're here." They stood before a monolithic door. "The boss of the Theater of Maniacal Dreams is right behind there," Akoma said, a wide grin spreading as he reached for the handle. "We made it in 2 days," he mused. "I bet the Eradication Ministry never saw that coming." The girl began to tremble. Are you really talking about the boss monster?" she stammered. Before them loomed a colossal beast. Akoma was silent, just observing. But deep down, he knew. After this boss, he could finally reclaim the item he'd coveted so desperately in his past life. "Let's end this," he commanded. "Stick to the plan." Satsuki nodded in agreement, just as a silhouette detached itself from the shadows. Karu. He'd been watching them the entire time. The massive clown began to move, its maniacal laughter echoing in the chamber. The protagonist shot a quick hand signal toward his companion. They broke apart, sprinting in parallel toward the boss. "I'll draw its fire. You wait for my signal from a safe distance." Boss monsters had colossal amounts of HP and insane regeneration. A head-on fight was suicide. They had to use their heads. They had to play dirty. The boss conjured a ball of light, launching it toward its target. Akoma triggered time's gravity reduction asterisk, seeing it was just a meter away. The dodge was almost effortless. On the other side of the arena, the girl began to cast. She unleashed time's mana drain asterisk. The spell latched on, siphoning energy from the boss's back. But the creature felt her presence instantly. The moment it noticed, Satsuki was frozen solid, paralyzed. A desperate yell tore from the protagonist's throat. "Run, get clear, it's using its teleportation attack. You can't cancel it once it's cast. Run to the center," he screamed. But it was too late. One of the clown's eyes began to burn with a sickly light. Satsuki saw a massive shadow fall over her. The beast was right there. Its breath was hot on her neck. Its mouth gaped wide, a massive fireball forming within. It fired point blank at the helpless girl. "I'm still here," the protagonist roared, hurtling toward the blast. The monster just kept laughing, a symphony of pure madness. Akoma neutralized the fire blast. Satsuki's eyes widened. The speed was unreal. He needed distance. Now, Akoma leaped back, landing on the giant's shoulder. The boss's eye flared red. A flash of movement. It warped directly in front of him. Twice in a row, Akoma's mind raced as the clown's massive fist swung down. Satsuki screamed his name, her voice filled with panic, but he was ready. Asterisk, gravitational reversal, asterisk. The world erupted in a deafening blast. The clown cackled, confused by the sudden chaos. Then, it looked up. Akoma hung from the ceiling, defying gravity. The boss's eye ignited for a third time. This wasn't going to be easy, but it was all going exactly as planned. Satsuki remembered his words from before the fight. "Its spellcasting is instantaneous," Akoma had explained. "Get too close and we're ash. Attack from a distance. And it just teleports on top of us. But that's its weakness. Its one critical flaw, the memory faded. Now," Satsuki unleashed her times, mana drain, times again. The clown's gaze snapped to her, its eyes widened with malice. An easy target. Her heart pounded. "I'm too close. He can't protect me from here." Akoma's voice was cold and calm in his mind. "It's time." The boss raised its massive palm, fire gathering in its center. Satsuki squeezed her eyes shut, bracing for the end. Nothing happened. The magic sputtered and died. A confident smirk spread across Akoma's face. "You're out of mana. Fire and teleportation, they burned through it fast. Without its skills, the clown was nothing. It turned, its massive feet pounding the ground as it tried to flee. Akoma coiled, ready to pounce. He launched himself, a blur of motion. Asterisk, beat or fall, asterisk. He slammed down onto the monster's head. "You're not getting away." It was clumsy, slow. It needed skills just to move properly. Seeing her chance, Satsuki unleashed her power. A sphere of pure darkness slammed into the boss. A shriek of agony tore through the air. Akoma intensified the gravity, his weight becoming immense. A sickening crunch. The portal boss was finally finished. 1,043 experience points flooded his senses. "Level up, level 30, Satsuki cheered, her face beaming with relief and joy. "What do we do now?" she asked. Akoma gestured to the shimmering portal. "The gate is closing. We need to go. But what if we get trapped in here?" Akoma gave a reassuring smile. "Don't worry. It'll stay open for at least half a day, and we've cleared the area." A faint blush crept onto her cheeks. "Right, I knew that." Just then, the clown's corpse erupted in a brilliant light. "What's happening?" Setsuki stammered. A slow smile spread across Aikoma's face. It worked. Floating above the remains was their reward. The boss drop, the clown's blade. Aikoma's eyes gleamed. This is perfect for a gravity master. He couldn't hide his grin. It's practically a cheat code. Things were finally looking up. Satsuki stared at the weapon. "Is this the equipment you were searching for?" The blade's stats were insane. Attack increased by 11 points. Skill activation time and mana consumption, both drastically reduced. Satsuki pointed out that the weapon's stats seemed underwhelming, but the protagonist insisted it was something else entirely. He explained that the raw numbers were just a bonus. The item's unique effect was the real prize. For classes that live and die by their skills, its power to amplify their entire kit was game-breaking. A gravity master is a glass cannon, vulnerable when burning through mana. This weapon was the perfect shield for his greatest weakness. The girl's eyes widened as the realization dawned on her. In his previous life, the hunter who claimed this very sword rode it to the top ranks. But he also became a monster, hunting other hunters for sport. So, by claiming this sword now, the protagonist was erasing a dark future. Meanwhile, Setsuki couldn't take her eyes off the blade. It covers your weaknesses," she stammered. Her voice grew quiet, her gaze falling. Does that mean you don't need me anymore?" "That's not it at all," Akoma said instantly. "This sword doesn't stop me from running on empty. I was hoping we could keep working together." Still staring at the blade, her voice was flat. "Fine by me." Akoma was completely lost, but then her head snapped up, a fire in her eyes. "This just means it's a competition now." He smirked. After gaining a few levels, it was time to cash in his skill points. He was aiming for the absolute peak. It was time to dive deep into the Gravity Master's exclusive skills. After a moment of consideration, he made his choice. "This looks good," he murmured, pushing his times gravitational magic times to level 2. After raising his times manipulation times to level 3, the protagonist saw a new skill pop up. Asterisk, supergravity bullet asterisk. He had always relied on times, manipulation times to get by, but this new item would make things so much easier. He could feel the magic thrumming inside him, and a grin spread across his face. "I have to test these out," he said, exhilarated. Suddenly, a voice cut through the chamber. "Well now, looks like we arrived a bit late." Karu stepped out of the shadows, commenting that the boy had apparently already handled the boss. With a predatory glint in his eye, the man added, "You must be pretty strong, kid." A cold knot formed in the protagonist's stomach. This was the absolute worst time for this. He saw it instantly, the faint shimmer of times, stealth asterisk. This guy was hiding, watching the entire fight, just gathering intel on the monster. He was betting on them both to die. Akoma had seen countless scavengers like this in his past life. "Who are you?" he demanded, studying the man's face. And then, it hit him. That cruel smile was horribly familiar. He realized this was Ku, the very man who took this blade in his past life, the one who became the infamous hunter of hunters. His mind raced. How is this possible? Akoma remembered it clearly. In the original timeline, it took this man much longer to find this portal. He was in shock. What the hell is that psychopath doing here? He thought, his blood running cold. But then he understood. Ku wasn't late. He'd been hiding in the boss chamber the whole time, waiting to poach the loot. He was waiting for the winner to be too exhausted to fight back. "What's wrong?" Satsuki whispered. Ku's eyes, however, were locked on the sword. "Is that the boss drop? You actually managed to get it after that fight?" he asked, feigning admiration. "Hey, mind if I take a closer look?" "Of course," the protagonist replied, holding out his hand. In his mind, the man just laughed. Asterisk. What a fool. Asterisk. Looking from Akoma to Satsuki, he sneered. "You're both so naive." He jerked his chin toward Akoma. "I'll finish him off first. Then, you and I are going to have some fun till I get tired of you." As he closes in, the psychopath warns them to be more careful. His eyes flash red as he extends a hand, drawing his dagger and unleashing the skill times life eraser asterisk. Akoma dodges in a blur. Koru spins around, a grin on his face, but Akoma is already mid-swing. Still, with impossible speed, the assassin evades the strike. In that instant, Akoma knows he lost his opening. He thinks to himself, "I tried to land a hit before he could react, but damn it, the guy's just too fast." As his companion stares in shock, he's forced to admit that Koru is on a completely different level. The assassin finds it odd, asking the kid how he knew what was coming. He'd mistaken him for a fool, but it seems the brat has more to him than he thought. Satsuki cries out, asking what's happening. Akoma tells her grimly, "This guy's an assassin, a hunter-killer. That means he's fast, and he's quiet." Koru raises an eyebrow. "Figured all that out in just a few seconds?" His expression hardens. "Fine. This saves me the trouble of a long explanation. Hand over the item. I'll even promise to let you both live." But Akoma's tone turns to ice. "The worst part about dungeon crimes? They don't leave evidence. That's why I know you have no intention of letting us walk out of here alive." Koru is silent for a beat. Then, a slow, chilling smile spreads across his face. This is good. You're smart. Brave too for someone so weak. He settles into a combat stance. I can't wait to watch you cough up blood on your way to hell. Akoma, however, shows no fear. Not on the outside, but inside, his heart hammers against his ribs. This is bad. This is the serial killer who took out countless hunters. The man who, in his past life, would come to possess the clown's blade. He never imagined the guy would be hiding in a gate this early. The moment their swords first met, the cold truth hit him. There was no way to beat this monster. Akoma! Satsuki calls out his name, her voice laced with fear. He roars back. Stay behind me! Akoma explains frantically. Assassins are fast. They deal massive critical damage from an ambush. He'll target you first. Witches are support, not frontliners. He'll end you the second he gets close. Don't move from that spot. Just leave everything to me. But his mind was racing. Taking on this lunatic alone is a suicide mission, but he couldn't let Satsuki fight him. Koru had the class advantage, years of experience, and a twisted mastery of combat. But more than that, she would shatter if she witnessed the kind of evil he was capable of. Akoma activates Time's gravity reduction asterisk. Their blades clash again. Even with a unique item, Akoma's arms tremble from the impact. Koru scoffs. You're pretty good with that sword. But I've got some bad news for you. You don't have what it takes to actually kill someone, do you? He shatters Akoma's guard, sending him stumbling back. I, on the other hand, have taken dozens of lives. I don't lose these fights. Koru thinks to himself, most people would break right there. But Akoma just resets his stance, readying another attack. Koru sidesteps the blow with ease. He claims most people crack under pressure, that they always make mistakes. But another cut lands dangerously close, and a cold dread washes over him. This kid isn't even flinching. In fact, he's predicting his every move. Koru seethes. This is ridiculous. There's no way some low-level punk is pushing him into a corner. On the sidelines, Satsuki watches, her breath caught in her throat. She's realizing her friend isn't just a genius with books. He's a monster in a real fight. Inside, Akoma is grateful. He got the blade just in time. It slashed his skill's activation delay, letting him instantly switch between crushing and negating gravity. Without it, he'd be overwhelmed, his mana already drained dry from the enemy's relentless assault. Suddenly, Kawaru roars. Playtime is over. He puffs out his cheeks, preparing something vile. He spits a glob of dark red liquid, a poison barrage. But Akoma sees it coming. With a deft flick of his blade, he deflects it. The assassin's eyes widen in disbelief. Impossible! Still reeling, he sees the protagonist charging. He dodges, but Akoma was already there, parrying a hidden needle. The blade bites into the assassin's cheek. You lucky little brat, he snarls, infuriated. Kawaru lunges back. That won't happen again. Akoma, on the other hand, remains perfectly calm. He unleashes Time's life eraser asterisk, going for the final blow. But Akoma just activates his own skill, cranking up the gravity. The blade is ripped from the enemy's grasp. The assassin freezes, pain shooting up his arm. The protagonist speaks, his voice cold. Your skill accelerates your arm for a strike to the neck. The lunatic is completely floored, his mind racing. How could this kid have figured it all out? Akoma explains, it's that simplicity that makes you so easy to read. If it were me, I'd never rely on such a one-trick pony. At that moment, Satsuki begins her attack. She unleashes her Times, Shadow Sphere, asterisk. Kawaru feels the attack from behind and stumbles. He looks forward and sees Akoma's sword raised high. The blade flashes down, carving a deep gash across his face. The assassin lets out a raw scream, babbling about his eye as he tries to stop the bleeding. How dare you cut my eye, he shrieks. Watching him, Akoma confirms it. He can read the man's every move. He can counter his dirty tricks. And with Time's gravity manipulation asterisk, he completely matched his speed. His only problem now is mana. After the boss fight, he's running on fumes. When it runs out, they're finished. Kawaru charges forward, promising, I will end you. Snatching his knife again, the assassin braces himself, a tremor of fear running through him. Why won't you die? He thinks frantically. The kid knows everything, from his movements to his traps. Not only that, he's overwhelmingly powerful. As Akoma weaves from side to side, a single thought consumes him. This isn't right. Akoma lunges for his blind spot. The assassin vanishes Time's shadow steps asterisk. But Akoma's breath is ragged, his movements heavy. Worry creeps in. Akoma swings again. Karu watches, perplexed. The kid has the upper hand, so why does he look so desperate? Then, a low chuckle escapes his lips. Good, he sneers. I'm glad I let you handle the boss. He shouts it for all to hear. You're strong, kid. You might have even been a hero, if you were getting out of here alive. He stomps the ground, his laughter echoing like a madman's shriek. But that's not happening. His promise hangs in the air. You die right here. Akoma and Satsuki watch, a knot of dread tightening in their chests. Steel clashes, a frantic dance, but Akoma is fading. Every parry costs him more. Satsuki has to do something. She conjures another shadow sphere. It hurtles toward the assassin. He's gone. Asterisk, shadow steps, asterisk. He evades it effortlessly. A cold dread seizes Satsuki. He dodged every single one. Her mind races, a torrent of self-doubt. I'm useless, she thinks, her own fear a cage. She watches Ikoma, a blur of desperate motion against an unstoppable force. He had the advantage, she saw it. But now, he's being pushed back. The madman's shouts cut through the clang of blades. I love this. He grins through the chaos. It's not every day you face someone when you don't know who's leaving in a body bag. Savor it while it lasts. Ikoma lunges, a desperate slice. The psycho sidesteps with ease. Panic claws at Ikoma's throat. He uses his sword's momentum, shifting his weight. A pivot, a kick. His foot connects. A solid crack against the assassin's chin. Rage flashes in his eyes. He leaps back, creating distance. So, Karu muses, the kid has a few tricks. Ikoma's mind races. Asterisk, gravity reduction, asterisk. It makes him lighter, faster. He can twist, flip, and strike from impossible angles. It's how he survived this long. But there's a cost. And his enemy sees it. He sees the strain, the flickering power. Karu's laugh returns, a low, predatory rumble. The assassin's thoughts are sharp as a knife. He's burning through his reserves with that skill, but it won't last. And when it fails, I'll end him. Out loud, he taunts. Looks like you're about out of gas, kid. He presses the attack. A relentless storm of blades. Ikoma parries, dodges, survives. Then, he feels it. The well is dry. His mana is gone. This is it. One last shot. He leaps into the air. Karu's eyes widen in surprise. How is he doing that? He's just hanging in midair. Is this another one of his skills? The assassin scoffs. It doesn't matter. You're a sitting duck up there. But Ikoma knows. He has one last spark, one chance to reverse the flow. Everything hinges on this single moment. His grip tightens on his sword, knuckles white. All of it, he whispers, pouring every last drop of his soul into the blade. He roars the name, asterisk meteor fall. Asterisk gravity itself crashes down, slamming his opponent toward the earth. Karu's knees buckle under the immense pressure. He strains, muscles screaming. What is this power? He pushes back with everything he has, but it's like trying to stop a falling mountain. He can't break free. Ikoma's blade descends, and Karu knows he can't hold it back any longer. A deep gash splits across his chest. His body screams in protest, a system alert flashing in his vision. Mana at 0. Satsuki rushes to his side, her voice bright with relief. You did it, we won! But all he can whisper is, I'm sorry. As his vision fades to black, his apology hangs in the air. Behind them, a shadow rises Kelro, battered but not broken. The assassin spits a curse. That little brat's gotta be running on empty. He sneers, watching Akoma kneel, paralyzed. Satsuki. Run, Akoma rasps, forcing the words out. He can't. He won't get to you. You have to go. Now. Even his opponent had to admit it. Incredible. Fresh from a boss fight and still standing. And he kept fighting him, all just to keep Karu from touching the girl. Satsuki freezes, the words hitting her like a physical blow. To think, the madman mused, he'd do all this for someone so pathetic. I'm actually starting to admire you, Karu confessed. A low growl rumbled in Akoma's chest, his patience wearing thin. The assassin smiled. And you still haven't even told me your full name. Impressive. His taunts echoed in Satsuki's mind. Was she? Was she just a weight dragging him down? Tears welled in her eyes. She choked back a sob. Away was right. She should have quit. She never should have become a hunter. If it weren't for her, Akoma would never be losing to someone like this. She remembered how he'd saved her, a desperate plea screaming in her mind. And then, something shifted. Her tears stopped. Her gaze hardened. The very air around her crackled with a new energy. Akoma glared, spitting the words. I'd never give my name to a worm like you, Karu just sighed. Such a shame. I really do like you, he said, his voice laced with a twisted sincerity. You're the first one I've ever truly admired. I'll be sure to remember your face. He raised his dagger for the final blow. But then, a sphere of pure shadow materialized beside the girl. Karu felt it instantly this one was different. He scoffed, starting to sidestep. You can't possibly hit me with. A sharp, blinding pain erupted in his side. Satsuki. She'd slammed her staff into him. He cursed her under his breath. His wounds were already screaming. She'd hit his blind spot. Perfectly. She sprinted to her companion's side. What are you doing? Akoma yelled. I told you to run. As a soft light enveloped her hands, Satsuki looked at him, her voice unwavering. I'm never running again. You told me I had the power to make a difference. She placed her hands on his back. Asterisk. Mana transfer asterisk. A surge of energy flooded his depleted core. Karu watched the brilliant flow of power, his eyes wide with disbelief. He didn't understand it, but he knew he hated it. He let out a roar. I'll kill you first, you little witch. He lunged, his dagger glowing ominously. Asterisk. Life eraser asterisk. Akoma's eyes snapped to meet his. But this time, she didn't flinch. Not an ounce of fear, just cold resolve. Thank you. the protagonist said softly. You saved us both. He was standing. His blade blocked the glowing dagger. Mana, warm and familiar, coursed through him once more. The assassin stared, completely stunned. Karu's mind raced. Did he recover that fast? Could he use that time skill again? This is impossible, he stammered. It's beyond any human limit. You're wrong, the protagonist stated, his voice ringing with new power. From the very beginning, we were a team, long before you crawled out of the shadows. My mana is back. You're still bleeding out. A smirk touched Akoma's lips. So, let's see who really wins this fight. He vanished in a blur of motion. The madman's confident sneer melted into pure fear as he scrambled to dodge, but it was already too late. Akoma left no openings, pure speed, raw power, but Kaworu snarled that it wasn't over, his hands crackling with dark magic. A crimson sigil blazed to life before him. Satsuki tensed, ready to move, but Akoma's voice was steel. Don't move. And with a gesture, a crushing gravity warped the air around him. Your magic, Akoma stated coldly, is far too slow. He remembered his past life, how he'd relied on the clown's blade just to cover for this kind of casting delay. Not anymore. Seeing the shift, Kaworu knew. This was the end. A perfect black sphere, a miniature black hole, hurtled toward him. The impact was absolute. As darkness took him, Kaworu lamented his defeat to a boy who was supposed to be weak. Akoma stood, weapon in hand, while Kaworu lay broken in the rubble. The government still had no real laws for portals and the incidents within. So, the Ministry of Monster Eradication simply looked the other way. It was easier for them. An unspoken rule was born from that neglect. What happens in a portal stays in a portal. But with Satsuki as a witness, Akoma had to play by the book. He declared the man would be kept under observation, then ordered Satsuki to secure the portal and call the ministry. She agreed without hesitation. Cleared portals were safe zones, no more monsters would spawn. Sending the girl back alone carried no risk. As Kaworu struggled to breathe among the ruins, Akoma watched him, his guard never dropping. The man admitted he'd misjudged him, blinded by his low level. He saw it now, the boy fought with the experience of 1,000 battles. He had to know, who was he? Later, the city's noise felt distant as Akoma and Satsuki sat in a quiet cafe. A news alert lit up his phone. Serial hunter killer apprehended. He glanced at the screen. The ministry had taken Kao into custody. Satsuki noted that the agents hadn't bothered asking them a single question. Akoma explained that crimes inside portals were a legal nightmare. The ministry rarely got involved unless the culprit was handed to them on a silver platter. The chaos of the portals had reshaped their nation, twisting its laws and its people. Crime had dropped, but only because government agencies now held a monopoly on power. And as society warped, poverty festered in the cracks. The government offered no help to the forgotten. Satsuki murmured that she knew the rules were different in portals, but she never imagined she'd come face to face with a serial killer. He looked at her. Are you scared? He warned her that this was the life of a hunter. This darkness, this danger, would always be there. He could see the weight of it all settling on her. There are other jobs, he offered gently, if this isn't for you. Satsuki clutched her cup, her knuckles white. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't scared. Akoma thanked her for her help. In there, she said, her voice gaining strength, I felt like your partner. I value that feeling more than the fear. I want to stay by your side. I want to work harder. A small, determined smile touched her lips. Akoma met her gaze. If that's how you really feel, he extended his hand. Then I'll be counting on you. Satsuki's smile widened as they shook on it. He was a good person, Akoma thought. A pleasant change. But Satsuki's mind was a storm of self-doubt. She was naive. She could barely keep up. She'd never been the type to take initiative, to truly help anyone. It was why Awe had always looked down on her. And it was why, in her quietest moments, she hated that part of herself too. She saw a chance to become someone better. An image of them in the portal flashed in her mind, and despite her weaknesses, she asked if she could keep hunting with him. A faint smile touched Akoma's lips. He thought she was a genuinely pleasant person. But as Satsuki's joy radiated across the table, a strange unease settled in his gut. He realized she was far more talkative than he'd ever imagined. Then, he felt the eyes on them. Two people were staring, one nudging the other. The woman held up her phone. Hey, are you the guys everyone's talking about? The ones who beat the boss monster in a day and caught the serial killer? In that instant, Akoma realized the quiet cafe was suddenly packed. Utsunomiya slid up to their table. You two have gotten pretty famous in the guild, he said, already typing on his phone. Your names aren't out there yet, he informed them, but every video, every blog, they're all about you. His phone screen showed articles and clips of the new hunter, but the specific details were still a mystery. Utsunomiya smirked. Even without names, everyone in here knows exactly who they're talking about, and they're very interested. He then pointed a finger at Akoma and Satsuki. I knew you two would be big shots one day. They both instinctively leaned back. He pressed on, and I'm not leaving this spot until you agree to join me. Suddenly, Aoi's sharp voice cut in. Utsunomiya! She announced her arrival with a mention of the Thunder Knights, then turned a warm smile on Satsuki. I've been looking all over for you, she said, taking the girl's hands in her own. I'm sorry. I know I was too harsh with you the other day, she admitted. I've done a lot of thinking, she explained, and I realized I need you. We're friends, and what happened must have been just as painful for you. Aoi's smile widened. So, how much did you make clearing that undeveloped portal? I bet you leveled up a ton. She began to say, you can always count on me, but Satsuki cut her off, her voice flat. Akoma, we should go. It's getting crowded, he agreed. Wait, don't leave, Aoi and Utsunomiya called out, trying to stop their retreat. But they kept walking, slipping past a car. Satsuki glanced at him. Isn't Aoi your friend? He paused. Are you sure you want to leave like this? Satsuki's reply was ice. She is not my friend. She glanced at her phone, commenting on the sheer number of views. The screen showed a clip with millions of hits, a rookie hunter facing down a killer. People film inside portals, Satsuki explained. They love to watch the videos. Akoma's expression darkened. That's a dangerous game. They only care about the views and the money. She looked up, taken aback. So, should I unsubscribe from the channels I follow? A phone nearby pinged. Someone had just hit 1 million views for the month. Miles away, Hosa stared at the news about a mysterious rookie hunter who had taken down a serial killer. She grumbled that the video had exponentially more views than her latest upload. One of her knights explained, viral content just pulls in a bigger audience, ma'am. Hosa's eyes narrowed. Fine, I'll make a viral video too. She couldn't believe all the attention this nobody was getting for clearing one measly portal. Sitting among her knights, she muttered her disdain for the new hunter. The scene then cuts to Akoma and Satsuki, sitting together at a table indoors. For me, she asks. Akoma confirms, explaining, it's more effective to face one powerful monster than 100 weak ones if you want to evolve. And for that, he stresses, his gaze sharp, you need a good weapon, an expensive one. It has to make up for an enchanter's naturally low attack power. He suggests they find a portal to earn some cash. Satsuki immediately refuses. You don't have to work so hard for me. I'm sorry. But Akoma just waves it off. Don't apologize. A strong partner with a good weapon benefits me, too. The word partner hangs in the air. Her eyes light up with a surprised delight. We're partners, she beams. He watches her pure excitement, thinking how naive she is, and how he can't let anyone else manipulate that. So, where do we find a portal like that? Satsuki asks, ready to go. Akoma simply points to the tablet in front of him. I already have one in mind, he reveals, showing her the glowing screen. The portal he's chosen is the Tomb of the Ancient King, described as a new, undeveloped dungeon with a high chance for major rewards. What the public doesn't know is that special locations like this are exceedingly rare portals, and the tomb is one of them. Akoma knows this because, in his previous life, he had studied every last piece of information on every portal that ever opened. He knew the items found inside were incredibly lucrative, and he planned to sell them for a mountain of cash. More than that, portals like this could drop unique, game-changing items, artifacts of immense power. There won't be any competition, he says with a grin. We can take our time and clean the place out. Satsuki sees a cold, calculating smile spread across his face. Before long, they stand at the entrance to the tomb of the ancient king. Mist clings to their ankles. Satsuki glances back nervously, but he pushes forward. Suddenly, a level 29 skeleton soldier lunges from the gloom. Akoma's hand gestures. Asterisk gravity crush asterisk. The enemy buckles. He strikes, his sword a flash of steel. He moves with a lethal grace. Satsuki can only stare. In battle, Akoma was a completely different person. Akoma calls out, direct attacks are useless against the undead. Partner, cover me with long-range spells. She snaps to attention. Right, a magic circle ignites beneath her. He vaults over the skeleton's wild swing. A moment later, a timed shadow bolt, time summoned by Satsuki, smashes into the creature. A system message appears. 240 experience points gained. The skeleton's bones dissolve into motes of light. Satsuki points. It dropped a demon stone. And another item. Akoma's eyes lock onto the weapon gleaming on the floor. We just hit the jackpot. He tells her it's worth around 400,000 yen. That much, she gasps. He explains, weapons like this are incredibly hard to find. Even without flashy effects, it's a rare drop. So what's our goal, she asks. 3 million yen, Akoma replies, for a powerful weapon that will last us a long, long time. Satsuki's jaw drops. 3 million yen? Rare portals this easy to farm are hard to find, he explains. We have to make the most of it while we're here. Akoma adds, besides, it's going to take time just to haul all these items back and forth. He lays out the plan. For the next 3 days, they'll be exploring the portal, hauling items in and out. Satsuki's eyes widen as she does the math that comes out to 1 million yen per day. She murmurs that an income like that is beyond anything she could have imagined. In that moment, the sharp clang of battle echoes nearby, signaling a fight. Akoma's head snaps up. They have to go see what's happening. Just a short distance away, a knight and a girl named Hosa were facing down a mummy. The knight charged, his weapon a blur as it slammed into the creature. He's all yours, Hosa, the knight yells. Finish it. She glances over her shoulder. Manager, is the camera ready? The knight, her manager, gives a thumbs up. Camera's rolling. Now be quick. Use the fire magic. Hosa strikes a pose, her blade igniting with a theatrical fiery aura as the camera lens focuses tightly on her. She leaps. A flash of fire. Her flaming weapon carves through the mummy. The monster collapses, its form dissolving into dust. Turning to the camera with a practiced smile, she begins her intro. Hey everyone, today I decided to tackle an undeveloped portal. Hasha boasts into the lens. I took this monster down with just a single swing of my sword. Clearing this portal might be even easier than I thought, she concludes. Watching from the shadows, Akoma and Satsuki realize what they're seeing. She's a portal streamer. Satsuki whispers that she recognizes Hosa. She's watched her channel a few times. Akoma's face hardens with disapproval. He hated this. All she cared about were views and profits, treating this place like a stage. Did she even understand how real the danger was? Satsuki knew Akoma had no love for portal streamers. Hosa suddenly spots them. Hey, she shouts, her smile vanishing. She points accusingly at Akoma and Satsuki, who are standing on the stairs, perfectly framed in her shot. You're standing right in front of the camera, Hosa fumes. You just ruined my chance for a viral clip. Akoma's voice cuts through her rant. You call that a fight? You just landed the final blow on a monster someone else already defeated for you. It's part of the show, she shot back dismissively. In show business, she explained, it's not about skill, it's about looking charming. She turned to her manager. Can we save the recording? He shook his head grimly. There's no way to edit them out. With that news, Hashino wailed that her perfect introduction was now useless because of them. Seriously, don't you know who I am? She demanded, striking a pose. I'm Hasha Saiji, the famous portal streamer. Akoma offered a curt apology. I'm Akoma Ichinos, he said, introducing Satsuki Kisaragi, who gave a quick bow. We didn't mean to interfere with your recording. Hasha just scoffed. Whatever, I'm leaving you two behind. I'm busy looking for new content. As she turned to leave, Akoma asked, why would anyone want to be a portal streamer? She laughed as if the answer was obvious. It all comes down to money, she said, rubbing her fingers together. Akoma narrated internally that portals are thrilling, a spectacle for the masses. They offered countless ways to rack up views, and companies would pay a fortune for advertising space. Get popular enough, Hasha continued, her eyes gleaming with ambition, and I'll become a true celebrity. But he warned her, his voice low and serious. Being a real hunter isn't easy. You should stop this before you get hurt. Her face instantly soured. What did you just say to me? She snapped. He held her gaze. I warned you. Portals at this level are dangerous. Take your celebrity games somewhere else. He warned her. Get serious now, or you'll pay the price when it actually matters. Hasha's jaw tightened, her eyes fixed on some distant point. She finally snapped, accusing Akoma of ruining more than just her footage. He was mocking her. Satsuki tried to smooth things over, but Akoma wasn't backing down, calling it friendly advice. Her manager jumped in, trying to placate her, whispering to just ignore him. She shot back, I know, don't feed the trolls. Then, a sudden fire in her eyes, she barked, roll camera. He flinched, caught completely off guard. Hasha closed the distance between them. You're Akoma, right? Her voice dripped with sarcasm. You must be pretty hot stuff to be handing out friendly advice. Then she laid down the challenge, a contest. Whoever collects the most demon stones wins, and if she won, he'd have to eat his words and apologize. On camera, she was going to film and upload the whole thing. She even had the nerve to say she'd blur his face, so he wouldn't have to worry about the humiliation. The title would be Random Hater Picks a Fight and Loses. But then came the kicker. If he won, she'd give him anything he wanted. That was all it took. I accept, Akoma said coolly, as Satsuki gasped beside him. Hasha let out a triumphant laugh. It's a date then. Portal entrance, 3 hours. She shot him a smug grin. Don't you dare chicken out. Torches flickered, casting long shadows down the corridor. Her manager finally broke the silence. Why? Why him? A greedy smile spread across Hasha's face as she pictured it. The perfect clip of her crushing some nobody. This was it. This was the viral hit she'd been waiting for. The views, the cash, this month was going to be huge. But more than anything, she wanted to shut him up. Teach him a lesson for saying she wasn't taking this seriously. She'd make him regret every word. Meanwhile, Akoma and Satsuki faced their first obstacle, a shambling mummy lurching from the darkness. He didn't hesitate. Asterisk, meteor drop, asterisk. The attack slammed into the creature. A flash of light. 364 experience points flooded his senses. Level 31. 3 new skill points. He smirked. Undead were always so slow. The strategy was simple. Use times, reverse gravity times to float past their clumsy strikes. Then, crush them with a sudden spike of times. Increased gravity asterisk. The monster shattered into dust. A faint glow remained. A demon stone. Another one. Akoma grinned, picking it up. But something else materialized. And Time's ancient relic gauntlet asterisk, rank D Satsuki finally asked, why did you accept her challenge? Akoma's eyes hardened. I'm not about to star in her video about me losing. A pause. Besides, I'm not going to lose. Maybe if I crush her, he continued, she'll finally learn that portals aren't a film set. He sighed. But that's not the real issue. He gestured to their growing pile of loot. The real problem is how we're going to carry all this stuff out. They pushed forward, drawn toward a bright light at the end of the passage. It opened into a vast chamber, dominated by a colossal statue of a sphinx. A dead end? Satsuki wondered aloud. Then, the stone eyes of the sphinx ignited, blazing with an unnatural, intense light. Satsuki stared, horrified. A grinding sound echoed behind them. The way back was gone, sealed shut. It's a trap, Akoma stated, his voice grim. Portals are full of them, hidden mechanisms and guardians. Most are simple. But some guard incredible treasures. And in a rare portal like this one, who knows what we just woke up? The glowing-eyed guardian demanded proof, a test of our knowledge. It swore the questions wouldn't stop until our minds broke. Miss 3, it snarled, and our lives were forfeit. Satsuki's voice was a whisper. Is that a monster? If we fail this, we fight, I warned her, telling her to be ready. I could see the fear in her eyes. But I just smiled, assuring her we wouldn't need to worry. I already knew every answer. The creature's gaze locked on, its challenge beginning. Its eyes flared with light. First question. How many experience points does it take to get from level 1 to level 10? I gave the correct answer before it could even finish speaking, stunning Setsuki. The Guardian confirmed it, my mind already calculating. All that information I'd gathered in my past life. It was the ultimate cheat code. It fired off its 19th question, describing a beast with 3 heads and 4 legs. The frightening doll, I answered instantly, Satsuki just staring in awe. I looked right at the statue. Are you going to keep this up? You said you'd go until I couldn't answer. Satsuki leaned in, whispering, maybe you should miss one on purpose? Just to give the poor thing a break. The Guardian was visibly agitated now, roaring out its 20th question. It described a monster that leaves a trail of green slime. I just laughed. No portal holds a creature like that. That kind of slime is only made through alchemy, I explained. I'm not falling for such a simple trick. 20 questions, the creature shrieked, unable to believe it, all of them correct. As its voice echoed, the chamber began to crumble around us. The Guardian stared at me, its glowing eyes filled with pure astonishment. Then, the massive door groaned open. The statue looked utterly defeated, like it had just been handed an open-book test it couldn't solve. It bowed its head, calling me the returned one. Satsuki pointed at the crumbling statue. Look, there's something inside. A glowing ring materialized from the stone, a rank B storage ring. My breath caught in my throat. I held the ring in my hand. An item this useful, this impossibly rare. It was a complete game changer. Is it really that valuable? She asked, her eyes wide. I explained that to the right buyer. It was a fortune. It could be worth anywhere between 10 and 100 million yen. Satsuki's jaw dropped. It's really that rare? I shook my head. I never expected to find a treasure of this caliber in a low-level portal. This had to be the reward for a perfect score. I smirked, picturing the Guardian's infuriated expression. Satsuki worried about the time we'd lost, about our wager. I held up the ring. This saves us time. It helps us carry everything. I smiled. We're in a much better position now. As we continued on, I knew the monsters ahead would be easy to defeat. A skeletal warrior charged. They're resistant to close-range attacks. So I closed the distance. I struck it down. From behind me, Satsuki unleashed a volley of spells, turning the others to dust. Mummies shambled towards us. They were too slow. Her hands began to glow as she cast Time's gravity manipulation asterisk, crushing them instantly. She followed up with Time's mana drain asterisk, leaving them as nothing more than withered husks on the floor. The haul from this portal was incredible. I jumped from level 31 to 33 and picked up 2 rare weapons. This was more than a success. He taps the ring. The items vanish into thin air. He smirks at Satsuki. This little trinket is a game changer. We've got 6 demon stones already, more than enough to win. But we're here to make a profit. Akoma's grin widens. Let's clear this entire dungeon before the timer hits 0. The scene cuts to Hasha, gasping for breath. Finally. We took it down, she wheezes. These things are a real pain, she explains. They're relentless, and they just don't die. Her knight companion grimaces. That's only 2 monsters. This is taking far longer than it should. Yeah, on a normal day, this would be over, he mutters. But don't worry, there's no way those guys are doing any better. Hosa considered just paying them off, making them throw the bet. But the warrior beside her cut in. Stop trying to stage everything, Hosa. This isn't a video. Just then, Akoma and Satsuki approach. Hosa looks up, surprised. Well, look at you. Must be having an easy time if you can just wander around. She snaps back. We're fine. I hope you're keeping up. Apologize now, and maybe I'll let this whole thing slide. Akoma says nothing. He simply holds up his hand, activating the storage ring. A torrent of light erupts. Piles of items and demon stones pour out, bathing Hasha's shocked face in their glow. You've got to be kidding me. How? How did you get all that? What is that bracelet? She stammered. Akoma just smiled. Is there a problem? Her own words, maybe I'll let this slide, mocked her in her mind. The humiliation burned hot. This isn't over, she declared, her voice cracking with rage as she stormed away. Manager, let's go. Why were you so cruel to her? Satsuki asked. Just giving her a little push, he replied, a flicker of concern in his eyes. I just hope she doesn't do anything stupid. Satsuki watched her retreat. You really have a problem with portal streamers, don't you? It's not a problem with them, he corrected, his tone hardening. It's their complete lack of respect for the dangers of being a hunter. You can die in an instant inside a portal, he continued. This isn't a game for likes and subscribers. Hasha is a perfect example. She's just chasing fame. If she's not a real hunter down to her core, she'll regret it the second she faces a real threat, and to win now, she'll have to do something that changes everything. She knew it instantly. There was no way she could win with demon stones. She had to find another way. Hosa, we're too deep in, her companion warned. We're almost out of mana. But she pushed forward. We need enough to get back out. We are not giving up yet. Don't you dare say I don't take this seriously. The present faded. 8 years ago, a city was burning. Screams echoed everywhere. Back then, the world was drowning in chaos. Every portal break was a cataclysm, with casualties far beyond what we see today. A colossal monster's shadow fell over the rubble. A young Hosa cried out, her voice barely a whisper. Please, help us. An orc stood over the bodies of their parents. She screamed, grabbing a younger boy's hand and running for their lives. Nearby, in a ruined hall, survivors hid in makeshift shelters, muffling the sobs of terrified children. 2 figures watched a boy and a girl, hollowed out by a grief no child should ever know. Her eyes were fixed on a phone screen, watching a broadcast about the nation's 5th hunter to reach Ranka, the esteemed Mrs. Kwan. A burning hatred for her own weakness filled Hosa's heart, and in that fire, a decision was forged. She would never be helpless again. On the screen, the hunter spoke, admitting she never imagined this life, but was happy she could be a light for those lost in the shadow of fear. Hosa knew she could never dream of wielding that kind of impossible power, but she could be like her in another way. She could become a symbol of hope. That was a power she could fight for. She swore then that no one would ever question her resolve again. She would make every single doubter eat their words. This footage is useless, she told her companion. We need to find something bigger, a real monster. A deep rumble echoed from down the corridor. Hear that? She said, a grin touching her lips. Sounds like our main event. She broke into a run. I've always had good luck, she called back, her companion's praise pushing her forward. She rounded a corner, camera ready, and declared, and here is our money shot. A colossal, golden-clad beast loomed over them, a pharaoh from a forgotten tomb, its many arms bristling with weapons over a broken hunter. A system window flashed. Undead Pharaoh, level 40, dungeon boss, tomb of the ancient king. Her blood ran cold. No, it can't be, she stammered. A rank B boss, all the way out here? This was completely out of her league. Her companion's voice was grim. Someone must have kited it out of the boss room while running for their life. He grabbed her arm. We have to go, now. Forget the stream, forget the bet. Hosa nodded, her mind a blur. There's a narrow path back there, she said. It can't follow us. Then a weak voice cut through the air. Help, please. The cry shattered her will to flee. An image flooded her mind. Herself, small and powerless, as an orc loomed. Then, another image. Mrs. Kwan on the screen. A beacon of strength. In that instant, she understood why that message had saved her. She wouldn't run. Not again. Not when someone was crying for help. She charged forward. I'm sorry, Suni, she yelled over her shoulder. Steel met ancient metal. She parried the blow. She locked eyes with the fallen hunter. Get up! Run! I'll buy you time! The hunter scrambled away. The pharaoh's blades descended, but another force slammed into them. Her companion was at her side. That rust bucket's tricks won't work on me. Suni grinned, full of fire. What can I say? I'm Hosa's #1 fan. Her expression was one of pure confusion. Her manager wasn't backing down. I'm not running. I'm not leaving you, he declared. I'm no frontliner, but I can be a damn good distraction. The pharaoh stalked toward them, its golden eyes glowing with malice. Hosa's breath came in ragged gasps as she defended him. The warrior beside her braced himself. Asterisk Aegis shield, asterisk! A dome of brilliant blue energy erupted. The monster was faster. A blur of motion. A golden scythe crashed down, slamming into the dome. The shield didn't just break. It exploded into a million shards of light. Hosa's heart sank. It was stronger, faster. They were completely outmatched. So this, she realized with dawning horror, was the power of a true dungeon boss. Her body trembled before the colossal enemy. Its presence was a crushing weight. The pharaoh raised 4 blades, a promise of death. Doubt flickered in her eyes. Then a voice cut through the tension. This was reckless, Akoma said, appearing at her side. The pharaoh struck, a blur of steel and rage. A shimmering barrier erupted, absorbing the blow. She flinched, then dared to open her eyes. Akoma was there, holding her steady. How? She stammered, disbelief flooding her voice. The hunter you saved told me everything, he explained, a weary sigh escaping him. I had a feeling you'd pull a stunt like this. He met her gaze. I told you that you'd regret not taking this seriously. I also said, if you won, I'd have to take it all back. A small, tired smile touched his lips. You won the bet. He held her close. I'm sorry. I was wrong about you. His focus sharpened. Activating times, gravity reduction, asterisk. He lunged, Hosa still cradled in his arms. The beast charged. He met its strike head-on. My times gravity reduction times deflected the impact, he said, the force scattering harmlessly around them. It bought them a precious moment. From the side, Satsuki unleashed a times shadow orb asterisk. The shadowy energy slammed into its flank. Got its attention, Satsuki yelled, trying to draw its focus from Akoma. It did no real damage, but the distraction was enough. Akoma glanced at the two injured hunters. We never fight with an advantage, especially not against a high-level boss like this. The level 40 undead pharaoh. Its aura was suffocating. Akoma noted, my weapon can amplify my gravity skills, but there's no easy way to win this. He knew the odds were stacked impossibly high against them. But Hosa's voice was firm. They're here because of me. I am not leaving them behind. A grim smile formed on Akoma's face. I never mind a good challenge. He looked to Satsuki. Help Hosa recover her mana. His eyes locked onto the beast. I'll buy you time. He'd seen her use fire magic, a swordswoman, using minor spells to cover her weaknesses. Smart. He pieced it together. She must have a healing ability too. If I keep it occupied, she can patch herself up. It was their only real shot. His times gravity reduction times traded raw power for blinding speed. He became a blur of motion. The good news? For now, he didn't have to attack. The level 33 hunter just had to survive. Just keep dodging. But the level gap was a chasm. It was almost insurmountable. Even so, his gravity manipulation had to be enough. Just then, one of the injured hunters offered to help Hosa. Counting on you, Akoma yelled, leaping back from a devastating blow. The boss was huge. Fast, 4 arms, a whirlwind of death. It struck again. The ground itself split open. The pharaoh's eyes glowed ominously. That last strike, impossibly fast, overwhelmingly powerful. Was that its ultimate skill? One hit like that, and it's over. He had to stay alert, had to avoid that at all costs. Meanwhile, the pressure was only mounting. Am I alive? The fallen hunter's body felt like lead, every muscle screaming as he tried to move. He lay pinned to the ground. He managed to ask about Hosa, just as he realized the battle was still raging. The monster charged. Akoma was a blur of motion. He soared over the beast, a feat that stunned the wounded hunter. He couldn't comprehend what he was seeing. How can he move so fast? The hunter wondered, his hand still crawling toward his camera. Akoma deflected a blow, running clean along the creature's massive forearm. In one fluid motion, he lunged at the monster. The knight, camera raised, filmed it all. What a glorious sight, he exclaimed. But Akoma knew better. None of his attacks were landing. His times gravity reduction, times ability, was also sapping his own strength. The monster's level was just too high. He couldn't possibly bring it down alone. But maybe. There was still a way. A surge of energy flared. Satsuki and Hosa were using times reverse mana drain asterisk. This should be more than enough, Hasha cried out, activating her healing ability. A determined smile spread across her face. I'm ready to fight again. Satsuki's voice cut through the chaos. I'll provide support from the rear. A flicker of hope ignited in Akoma. Now they finally had a real chance to fight back. However, he knew they were still at a crushing disadvantage. If this fight dragged on for even a minute longer, they wouldn't survive a high-level boss monster. Akoma stood before the imposing undead pharaoh. The titan attacked again and again, but not a single strike connected. He scanned his surroundings, noticing he was standing before a much smaller creature. When Satsuki's frantic shout cut through his thoughts, he was completely surrounded. She thrust her hand forward, unleashing her power. Asterisk, gravity reduction asterisk. The massive statue beside him became weightless. With a grunt, she hurled the statue directly at the pharaoh. Satsuki, Akoma yelled. Attack its mask! She didn't hesitate. A brilliant blue aura enveloped her weapon as she answered the call. She launched a sphere of dark energy that slammed into the pharaoh's face. The smoke cleared, revealing the monster's eye region. Satsuki saw the attack had done 0 damage, but it had given her exactly the information she needed. Akoma understood instantly. The mask was a powerful shield, which meant the creature's face was its only weak point. In a flash, Hosa moved into the pharaoh's blind spot. The creature's attacks were relentless. She barely held on, gritting her teeth. It was nearly impossible to dodge 4 arms at once. She couldn't believe how hard it was just to get close, even with everyone's support. A thought struck her. How did Akoma manage to dodge and counterattack all by himself? Just then, his voice called out to her. Use your magic to destroy the mask. I'll stop its movements, he commanded. My weapon's ability, asterisk, armor shatter, asterisk, can break through its defense. Hasha nodded, activating her skill. Her sword began to shine with an intense, holy light. But a sliver of doubt crept in. Could he really stop a monster that gigantic? Akoma launched himself into the air, positioning himself directly above the pharaoh, ready to strike. He'd figured it out. The creature's power came from its forearms. If he could just stop them, its entire body would be locked down. It would be completely vulnerable. This was it. He activated his gravity ability, pouring all his focus into restraining the colossal figure. "I'm not aiming for its torso," he declared. "I'm pinning its arms." The creature's shoulders locked in place, completely immobilized. Its arms were useless, hopelessly bound. Akoma knew this strategy was a long shot, only effective against massive, multi-limbed beasts. As he watched the monstrosity struggle against his power, he readied his final move. At that exact moment, Hosa found her opening. She unleashed her skill. A blinding torrent of energy erupted, striking the undead creature dead on. The pharaoh's golden mask cracked, then shattered, revealing the horror beneath a grotesque face with too many eyes and a deformed, gaping maw. They stared at the monster. Akoma saw it, the weakness was finally exposed. While Hosa froze, paralyzed by the creature's terrifying visage, Akoma charged forward, ready to end this while it was still trapped. He flipped gravity on its head, launching into the air as the pharaoh's attack pulverized the ground where he'd just stood. He saw the creature's next move before it happened. All its arms would converge for one final, desperate strike, its head dipping low. He knew that single movement would expose its fatal flaw. "This is the end," he roared, descending for the killing blow. He activated his ultimate skill, *, meteor drop, *. A cataclysmic force slammed directly into the pharaoh's exposed head. Victory. A grim smile touched his lips. Akoma clutched the golden ring, a system notification confirming his level up. But across the chamber, Hosa was desperately tending to the fallen warrior. Another hunter just stood by, watching. A faint glow began to pulse from the defeated monster's corpse. Satsuki spotted something else glittering beside Akoma. She called him over, pointing to a magic weapon, its powerful stats on full display. Akoma held the weapon out to Satsuki. "This is perfect for you. Now we don't have to buy one." Her eyes went wide. "Are you serious? I can really have this?" "You helped me get my weapon," he said simply, "and Hosa should get a cut too." Hasha just shook her head. "Don't worry about me, Akoma. You saved all of our lives," she insisted, offering him the item and the demon stone. "But I do want one thing in return." Hasha looked down. "Can we just call off the bet?" Akoma paused. "But you won." He met her gaze. "You're a real hunter. I take back everything I said." Hasha looked up, completely stunned by his words. Akoma and Satsuki shared a smile. Then he turned back to her. "You should quit streaming. You could be an incredible hunter." "What?" Satsuki shot back, indignant. The armored warrior scoffed. "You can't make a living as a hunter." "She has to," Akoma said, his voice low. He knew her story now. Hosa's father was dead, her mother disabled. It was on her to provide for 5 younger siblings. "Hey, shut up!" Hasha hissed at the armored warrior. But he kept going, describing the insane hours she worked just to keep her family afloat. For the first time, Akoma felt shame. "I'm sorry. I had no idea." She turned away, flustered. "It's not like that. I enjoy it, so don't get the wrong idea." Hasha explained her real goal was to make people smile, to show them they didn't have to live in fear of the portals. She showed them clips of her streams, of kids laughing. Akoma smiled for real this time. "I'll be your first subscriber." Hasha was speechless. She stood there, silent and blushing. Later, Akoma, Satsuki, and Hasha were seen talking with 2 officials in suits, clipboards in hand. The world swam back into focus. Hasha's first thought was the camera. "Is it okay?" she asked, her voice raspy. That thing was expensive, built to capture blurs of motion. She held her breath, praying it wasn't shattered. A nearby warrior gave a tired thumbs up. "Camera's good, still recording." A wave of relief washed over her, but the warrior grumbled. "Good thing, 'cause we got jack squat for demon stones or footage from this hellhole. Barely made it out alive for nothing." Hasha's mind raced. Maybe they should have pushed for the boss monster's demon stone. No, she wouldn't take a handout. But the camera, she pressed, a desperate edge to her voice. Did it catch anything? Anything at all? Her plea hung in the air. Then, the playback screen flickered to life, revealing Akoma, a whirlwind of deadly grace. Later, at the Morima branch of the Hunters Guild, Akoma was lost in a book while Setsuk was glued to her phone. Suddenly, she shot up. "Akoma, you have to see this." He barely looked up. Watching videos is an inefficient way to gather intel. "You should consult with experts directly." He glanced down, and his own face stared back from the screen under a bold title. The rumored Supreme Hunter appears. The video Hasha posted of him fighting the beast was exploding online, the view count climbing by the second. The comments were a blur of awe. They praised his impossible speed, his cold calm in the face of death. A ghost of a smile touched Akoma's lips. He realized the strange looks he'd been getting all day were because of this. Satsuki was practically vibrating with excitement. "It hit 1 million views in a single day," she yelled. Miles away, in her small room, Hasha stared at the same number, pure joy on her face. She threw her arms in the air, a silent cheer for a tiny victory. And then, her phone buzzed. The screen lit up with a name she never expected to see. Akoma Ichinos. Her heart leaped into her throat as she swiped to answer. Right. She'd given him her number for information exchange. But the voice on the other end wasn't here to chat. Her smile froze. Why did you post a video of me? Akoma's voice was ice. Her stomach plummeted. She was about to delete everything. But then, a memory surfaced in Akoma's mind, her desperately trying to quiet a teammate talking about her family's struggles. Never mind, he said flatly. I just saw it. The tension in Hasha's shoulders vanished. Seizing the opening, she changed the subject. It's getting a ton of views, you know, she chirped, her earlier fear completely forgotten. Maybe next time we could film like a portal clearing date? A dial tone was her only reply. He'd hung up. Satsuki glanced over. Was she still talking? Akoma ignored her. His mind was already elsewhere. If his level kept climbing like this, then maybe, just maybe, he'd have the power to focus on what truly mattered. His thoughts turned to an item once beyond his wildest dreams, the legendary Ring of Wisdom. He, who was once nothing, now, he clenched his fist. With this power, he wouldn't just survive, he could rewrite history itself. Just then, the receptionist cleared her throat, gesturing to the main screen. Confirmation complete. Hunter Akoma Ichinos, level 36. You meet the experience requirements. A new rank flashed on the screen. He was officially rank C. After a polite congratulations, Akoma and Satsuki stepped away from the counter. That was insanely fast, she marveled, her eyes wide. Thanks, he said. You'll be there soon, too. Back at the desk, the receptionist stared at his file, her mind reeling, the speed of his ascent. It was unprecedented. But to Akoma, it wasn't a miracle. It was the inevitable result of knowledge he shouldn't have and a life he'd already lived once before. He explained the fastest way to level up, hunt high-level monsters, plain and simple. Satsuki admitted Akoma was one of the strongest C ranks she'd seen and swore she'd reach his level. He just smirked and declared, by the end of the month, I'll be a B-rank hunter. Satsuki's eyes widened in concern. Isn't that too fast? She asked, her voice trembling slightly. Few guilds even have a hunter that strong. Akoma finally revealed his true goal, explaining there was a specific item he had to get his hands on. To get it, he needed B-rank access to a high-level portal known as the Library of Illusions. He told her that the portal's boss, a beast no one had ever beaten, would drop the legendary Ring of Wisdom. Stunned, Satsuki could only ask, how could you possibly know what an undefeated monster drops? Her mind raced. Is this connected to what you told me before? Akoma simply nodded. He mused that the Ring of Wisdom might hold the very secret to why portals first appeared, leaving Satsuki speechless at the sheer scale of his mission. He explained the ring was a priceless artifact that vanished in his past life before anyone could analyze its secrets. Akoma recalled how, in the past, specialists were on the verge of using it to understand the portal phenomenon. He knew reaching the rank in time would be a long shot, a desperate gamble, but it was one he had to take. This is my burden to bear, he said softly. You don't have to help me. Satsuki shook her head firmly, a small smile on her face. After everything you've done for me, I wouldn't miss it. Besides, she added, it feels good to finally be needed by you. Akoma returned her smile with a quiet thank you, though she still doubted his timeline. B-rank promotions are based on portal clear records, she reminded him. It's not just about strength. Don't worry, he assured her, his eyes gleaming with confidence. I have a plan. We're not just clearing portals, we're going to shatter records. The level 32 red troll appeared. Akoma moved. The beast fell. It was over in an instant. Next up, the level 30 mermaid chief. Satsuki took it down herself. Then, a massive level 36 spider ogre charged them. A single times meteor drop times silenced it forever. In that one fight, Satsuki leaped from level 32 to 35. She looked at him, completely bewildered. 3 portals? In just 2 weeks? This is insane. I know these bosses are lower level, Satsuki said, but this feels too easy. Akoma confirmed they were normally much harder. At this stage, their attack patterns are predictable. Their skills are weak, he explained coolly. But more importantly, he added, I already know every single easy-to-clear portal around the capital. I've mapped our entire path to the top. He showed her the portal map on his phone, displaying 5 cleared dungeons, all above level 30. Back at the guild, the receptionist stared at the report, her jaw on the floor. Aikoma's clear record was beyond impressive. It was impossible, she stammered, barely able to comprehend the sheer number of high-level portals he had conquered in such a short time. The staffer collected herself, explaining that the B-rank promotion required a rigorous evaluation and they'd be contacted in a few days. Just then, a hulking shadow fell over them. A mountain of a man, Mr. Ukami, had arrived. A man appeared, his face a mask of outrage, demanding to know if this kid was actually applying for a B-rank promotion. Akoma sized him up, asking coolly if he worked for the guild. His eyes locked onto the emblem on the man's chest. It turned out some of the guild's top hunters were under exclusive contract. The man started arguing with the receptionist, his voice rising as the system was explained. These hunters managed portals. They responded to major incidents and even helped shape the organization's policies. Their influence within their guild branch was immense. And to Ukami, the idea of Akoma becoming a B rank was utterly absurd. But the receptionist calmly informed him that Akoma was nearly level 40, with a solid record of clearing numerous mid-level portals. Stunned, Ukami shot back. So he's taken down multiple boss monsters? The two locked eyes in a silent battle. The man's mind raced. It took him 7 long years to become the one and only B-rank hunter at the Marima Guild branch. How could this boy, Akoma, already be standing at his level? A dangerous glint entered the man's eyes. Akoma saw it instantly. This man was going to be a problem. Ukami closed the distance, getting in Akoma's face. He snarled, questioning how a kid who looked like him could ever be a B-rank hunter. Akoma stated the obvious. Without Ukami's approval, promotion in the Marima branch was impossible. But he couldn't back down now. You could only apply for promotion in your home city's branch. This was his only shot. He thought of all the support Satsuki had given him, a quiet strength flooding his veins. That settled it. He wouldn't yield. Turning to the hunter, he confirmed his name, Ukami, then demanded a real reason for the rejection. The hunter leaned in, his voice a low growl. B-rank isn't for rookies who think this is a game. He got more aggressive, shoving a finger toward Akoma. Do you even take being a hunter seriously? Answer me, now. All around them, guild members watched, whispering that Ukami was starting trouble again. Akoma cut through the tension. How many hunters reached B-rank at only 17 years old? Ukami blinked, thrown off balance. What kind of nonsense are you spouting? Akoma pressed on. It's been 15 years since the portals first appeared. He held up his fingers. In that time, 6 teenagers reached B-rank at 17. By your logic, should they all have been denied? He stood his ground, his voice ringing with authority. I meet every requirement for B-rank, so give me an answer before you reject me based on nothing but my age. Ukami took an involuntary step back, speechless. He stammered, admitting the rules around portals weren't perfect. He tried to recover, claiming they had to listen to the experience of veteran guild hunters like himself. But Akoma shut him down. The rules aren't based on feelings. They're guidelines written in blood from past disasters. He leveled a piercing gaze at Ukami. Isn't that the guild's official policy? The woman at the desk nodded, confirming it. She started processing the data on her computer. Satsuki watched, amazed. Akoma's knowledge and logic were outclassing a veteran hunter. The crowd murmured, watching Ukami stand there, utterly defeated and speechless. But Ukami's mind was anything but silent. He thought to himself, that was a bold move. And in the wake of his public humiliation, he made a silent vow. Someone was going to pay for this. He swore he'd make Akoma regret this, then snapped at the receptionist, demanding the kid's level and class. Level 38, a gravity user. Ukami's eyes narrowed as he questioned the woman about a class he'd never even heard of. He was stunned. Was this some kind of rare class? The unknown grated on his nerves. Ukami figured it had to be a mage type. The only way he'd leveled so fast was by hiding behind some powerful warrior. Then, Ukami feigned a moment of clarity, admitting it would be unfair to reject the application without a good reason. So, he wouldn't reject the request. Instead, he laid down a single, brutal condition. He challenged Akoma to prove he deserved B rank in a one-on-one match, right here in the guild's training hall. Inside the hall, hushed voices filled the gallery. Ukami repeated his terms for all to hear. Prove your strength, or your promotion is denied. Fail, and the application would be torn up. It was as simple as that. 2 hunters murmured nearby, recalling Ukami's history. They'd seen his matches before he'd nearly put others in the ground. Others agreed this wouldn't end well for Akoma. Ukami always used these duels to vent his rage on someone weaker. Satsuki's face tightened with worry for her friend. Across the arena, Ukami's stare was cold steel, locked on Akoma. The public humiliation from earlier still burned in his mind. He was level 47. This kid was a nobody, a mere level 38. A mage, no less. To Ukami, the power gap between them was an impossible chasm. He sneered, convinced the boy had only gotten this far by being carried. He puffed out his chest, declaring himself a beast warrior. A class, he boasted, that supercharged his physical attributes. A cruel smile twisted his lips. He would break this kid in front of everyone. End his career before it even started. His experience and stats were on another level entirely. Just then, Akoma calmly manipulated a holographic screen. Ukami watched, assuming the mage was desperately preparing for a direct fight he couldn't win. Akoma knew this had to be played carefully. He funneled every last one of his remaining skill points into his gravity magic. He spent 25 points, pushing times gravitational manipulation times to level 4. He needed the boost to his physical stats it would provide. Investing in raw power was tempting, but this was the smarter play. He concluded he had no other choice and confirmed the upgrade. At that moment, Ukami's mocking voice cut in. Saving up your points? Must have had it easy until now. His sarcastic tone dripped with venom. Accidents happen in these spars, you know. Wouldn't want you to get hurt, he warned. Akoma's face remained a blank slate. Thanks for the advice. Show me what you've got, the challenger demanded. In response, Akoma drew his sword, his expression set like stone. This was it. Ukami would demonstrate his absolute superiority before the entire guild. He grinned. He was resolved to publicly crush Akoma, ensuring he never worked as a hunter again. Ukami hefted his own weapon. Start whenever you're ready. I won't even use any skills, he added, a final, condescending jab. But you can. Akoma remained utterly silent. He simply observed, standing motionless in the center of the arena as dozens of onlookers watched from the balconies above. The crowd held its breath. Ukami's smile widened into a predatory grin. Now it's my turn to humiliate you in public. The instant the fight began, Akoma activated his skill, making himself nearly weightless. Ukami scoffed. This kid's pathetic attacks would never even touch him. He was about to become a laughingstock. But then, Akoma blurred. He shot forward with impossible speed to strike. The velocity left Ukami utterly stunned. His mind couldn't process it. His weapon came up on pure instinct, barely deflecting the blow. How could someone at his rank move like that? The thought barely formed before he felt a chilling presence directly at his back. What was that? He choked out, his mind racing. It had to be a fluke, a cheap trick. He wouldn't be caught off guard again. Ukami lashed out with his blade, cutting through empty air. Akoma was already gone, hovering effortlessly above the ground as Ukami stared up. He clutched his weapon, but his feet betrayed him. He staggered. The world tilting his own center of gravity had vanished. Akoma seized the opening. Propelled by a surge of energy, he descended with blinding speed for a single, precise kick. The impact slammed into Ukami's face, and blood sprayed. He coughed, spitting a crimson mouthful, rocked by the sheer force of the strike. Fighting through the pain, he raised his weapon to swing again. But he saw it, then it wasn't just speed, but a fluid combination of attacks. Who in the world even fights like that? The question echoed in his battered mind. Far away, they were watching. An observer stared at a monitor, completely floored. Akoma wasn't just winning, he was dismantling him. Murmurs filled the stands. This is just a promotion test, right? Is Ukami even trying? He hasn't used a single skill. Akoma pressed his advantage, another strike sending Ukami stumbling back. He was a phantom that couldn't be touched. The crushing realization hit him. His attacks were useless. Then he heard the whispers from the crowd, each one a sharp sting of humiliation. Akoma floated before him, a predator before frozen prey. It was then the young hunter decided to teach him a lesson. The times gravity user times class is supreme, he declared. It allows me to shatter the physical limitations that bind other hunters. It leaves every other class in the dust. He explained that in a quick fight like this, where mana consumption wasn't a factor, his advantage was absolute. And you were a fool to think your higher level meant anything, Akoma stated flatly, just because you didn't see any flashy skills. Akoma's thoughts flashed to Kawu. His movements were sharper. His will to win was an obsessive hunger to utterly destroy his enemies. No more words. Akoma lunged, his blade slicing through the air. At the last second, he activated another skill. Asterisk, gravity crush, asterisk. The impact was like a mountain falling on Ukami's blade. He wasn't just fast. He had devastating power. The force sent Ukami reeling, and in that split second, Akoma vanished. Where did he go? As Ukami stared at the empty spot on the ground, a shadow fell over him. Akoma was hanging upside down in the air above. In a blink, he reappeared at Ukami's back, his sword a cold threat against his spine. The moment our blades met, he explained, I activated ×0 gravity asterisk. I rode the shockwave of our clash right into your blind spot. The crowd erupted. That experienced B-rank hunter never even stood a chance. They roared, cheering for Akoma's landslide victory. Satsuki was beaming, her smile radiant. You were incredible, she cried out. Meanwhile, Ukami just stood there, completely broken. Is this some kind of joke? He snarled, refusing to accept it. I've been humiliated. This is unacceptable. Akoma then asked, So, with my victory, am I officially a rank B hunter now? Suddenly, he froze. Something felt wrong. A crimson aura exploded from Ukami, who lunged at him like a rabid animal. Akoma, he roared. His eyes blazed red as he activated Time's crimson talon asterisk. A flash of movement. A vicious, sweeping slash. The attack connected, throwing Akoma back several feet. He admitted to himself he hadn't dodged, his guard completely down. He thought the fight was over. Watching him stumble, Ukami thought this whole thing was utterly ridiculous. He explained that his weapon was merely a feint, a simple trick to mask his real move. And yet, he thought, you still managed to partially block it. Beyond the arena, the crowd erupted into angry murmurs. That's cheating, they declared. The match was over. They also shouted that Ukami had explicitly promised not to use skills. Still, he remained seething, ignoring the storm of boos from the audience. Confused, Akoma asked, What's happening? Is the promotion test still going on? As a vortex of energy began to swirl around him, Ukami clenched his teeth, consumed by pure rage. He swore he wouldn't let this kid mock him. He would turn his life into a living hell. Akoma asked, "Doesn't my performance prove I'm qualified?" Meanwhile, Ukami knew that being defeated by a lower-level hunter was unthinkable. It would shatter his influence within the guild. With that, he declared, "This is useless. Your promotion request is denied." News of the result sent a shockwave of whispers through the spectators as Akoma stood perfectly still. The evaluator then announced that while he had agility, he was incapable of landing a decisive blow, making him weak against truly powerful monsters. He then claimed he had deliberately left several openings, but the boy had failed to take advantage of a single one. Finally, he pointed out that Akoma couldn't dodge his final technique and got hurt, proving he couldn't react to unexpected situations. The spectators began to grumble that this was completely unfair. One commented, Ukami was going to reject him no matter what. Hearing this, Ukami's head snapped toward the voice. "What did you say?" The man flinched. Another man whispered to him, "Be quiet, you don't want to get on his bad side." Just then, Utsunomiya's voice boomed. "Ukami, have you no shame for what you've just done?" Akoma turned, realizing his friend was there. The man accused Ukami of breaking his word about not using abilities and stated that Akoma clearly dominated the entire fight. In response, Ukami just sneered. "Shut up, you're a nobody." Even so, Utsunomiya promised Akoma he would take care of it and expose the truth of what happened. But Akoma refused the offer. He questioned the word's best friend and asked why Utsunomiya was really trying to help him. Satsuki, who saw the whole fight, knew that he had won. She wondered why Akoma was being this way, recalling he needed Ukami's acknowledgement. Akoma then revealed that was precisely why he made sure to so clearly demonstrate the gap between them. He then reflected that while he had shattered his opponent's pride, maybe he shouldn't have made it quite so humiliating. It was useless. Realizing it now didn't change a thing. He'd been crushed. A voice cut through the haze, asking about the commotion. It was the deputy guildmaster, Shrioa Rizawa. "Ukami," Rizawa said, his voice sharp, "I was looking for you. What is all this?" The other man replied without a glance. "An evaluation. A complete waste of my time." Rizawa's gaze fell on Akoma's battered form. Was all this really necessary? Accidents happen, but... Ukami just scoffed. They're mere scratches. Rizawa sighed, telling him to just drop it. Akoma watched as Ukami moved closer to his superior. "We have an urgent matter to discuss," and with that, he was called upstairs. As he walked away, his final words hung in the air. "I don't have time to deal with the weak." While they disappeared from view, Atsunami whispered in awe, "That's the strongest hunter in the entire guild." Satsuki turned to Akoma. "What do we do now?" He pressed a hand to his head, the pain a dull throb. "We find another way." The elevator doors opened on the 13th floor. "Tell me, Ukami," Rizawa asked, "was that display truly necessary for an evaluation?" "He was arrogant," Ukami stated flatly. "Someone seeking a promotion needed a taste of reality." The deputy master considered the young man's B-rank candidacy. Perhaps these rookies just don't take veteran hunters seriously enough. Once seated inside the office, Ukami cut to the chase. "So, Rizawa, what was so urgent?" Rizawa's expression turned grim. "It's about the B-rank portal under the Mima branch, the Temple of Beasts. Managing a portal of that level is extremely profitable," he explained. "A goldmine for hunter development and magic stones." He slid a tablet across the desk, the screen glowing. "But we've detected abrupt changes in the monster distribution inside. The mana density levels are also abnormal," he continued, his voice low. "Our priority must be preventing a disaster, not chasing profits." Ukami glanced at a file. "So you want to get rid of the Temple of Beasts to avoid future problems?" Rizawa confirmed with a sharp nod. "The ministry wants to keep all B-rank portals open, they're too scarce. The guildmaster is also hesitating because of the profits." He leaned forward, his eyes intense, "and the only reason they're hesitating is because an experienced hunter, you, declared the place safe. But this portal raises too many questions. Personally, I'm not sure about its safety anymore. That's why I need you to offer the guildmaster a new opinion, a revised one." Ukami leaned back in his chair. "Is that the real reason you called me here?" Rizawa held up a hand, cutting him off. "I'm not finished." Ukami dragged a hand over his face in annoyance. "Just shut up." He then snatched a report off the desk and declared, "The portal is fine." He tossed it aside carelessly. As Rizawa bent down to retrieve it, he seethed. "You didn't even look at the data we collected." Ukami's boot slammed down, pinning the papers to the floor. "And what could that data possibly tell me?" A cold smile spread across his face. "As an experienced specialist, I guarantee the portal is safe. If something happens, I can clear it myself at any time." Rizawa's fist hit the table, the sound cracking like a whip. "We cannot afford an accident. No one even knows the real cause of these portal disasters." Rizawa's voice was strained, but Ukami merely remained silent, watching him with an unreadable expression. Their duty was to guard this place, but in that same instant, a slumbering beast's eyes shot open. Akoma knew this was trouble. He replayed Hunter Ukami's condescending words. A promotion request was only valid in your own branch. There was no way around him, no way to advance. and to enter the Library of Illusions, they needed a rank B hunter. Satsuki could always try the test at another branch, but she wasn't at the required level for a promotion yet. He grit his teeth. They were completely boxed in. Just then, Hosa burst in, demanding, "Did that guild hunter really block your promotion?" The young woman held up her phone. One of her fans had recorded the entire confrontation with Ukami and sent it to her. "Let's post it," she said, a dangerous glint in her eye. Title it, Guild Corruption, Okami's Abuse of Authority. She was confident her 120,000 subscribers would ignite a firestorm over the injustice. Akoma's eyes narrowed. "Is this just about the views?" "No," she snapped back. "This is me repaying you for saving my life." She paused, offering her help. A sly grin touched her lips. "But if it happens to bring in some views and a little profit, I won't complain." "Don't post it," the boy stated, his tone leaving no room for argument. "There's still too much we don't understand about these portals," he continued, his voice low. "The guild needs its experienced hunters. Publicly shaming someone like Ukami won't make him change." He looked her dead in the eye. "All it will accomplish is making you his next target." The warning made Satsuki flinch. She watched them closely, then asked Hosa, "Are you worried about him?" Before Hosa could answer, Satsuki pressed, "Do you have a crush on him?" Hosa reeled back, stunned. "What are you even talking about? Akoma is secretive and acts like he's above everyone." "I would never like someone that annoying," she huffed, even with that handsome face of his. "I'm just worried because he saved me, that's all," she clarified. "As a streamer, I can't risk a dating scandal." Satsuki just kept staring as Hosa demanded to know why. Satsuki quickly looked away, denying everything. Suddenly, a piercing chime from the phone shattered the tension. Every head turned to the screen. Satsuki read the alert, her voice strained. "Emergency, rank B, monster, incident in Tokyo." "What's going on?" Hosa pointed to the flashing screen as Akoma explained, his voice grim. "The incident is on Kitahana Avenue. It's an overflow from the Temple of Beast portal." "An overflow," he clarified, "is when monsters break through the gate and invade our world. The only way to stop them is to defeat the boss monster inside and seal the portal for good." A cold dread washed over him. This was wrong. This never happened in Morimo Ward in his previous life. Was it a coincidence? Or was this something more? Memories of a future that no longer existed swirled around him. He wondered, his heart pounding, if the timeline was finally breaking away from the one he knew. Hosa broke the silence. "So a controlled portal just failed? Why didn't the guild predict this?" she asked, her voice laced with anger. "They've been analyzing these things for so long." The young woman's shoulders slumped. "I've never even been inside a rank B portal. I'm not strong enough to help." A flash of memory. Her father, screaming for help as a monster loomed over him. Her expression hardened into pure resolve. "But there are so many people out there who are weaker, who need me." She turned towards the chaos. "I'm going." Akoma's warning echoed. A defective B-rank portal was a ticking time bomb, its disasters birthing unknown horrors. And at ground zero, Bakami stood before a hulking beast clawing its way from the rubble, a level 34 werewolf. He launched himself forward, a blur of motion. His blade screamed through the air, "Nothing stands in my way." This was bad, too close to Srioel, too public. A failure here would tarnish his name forever. Awe in their voices. Two junior hunters stared. One shot. He took down that monster in a single blow. Bakami scoffed, not even glancing their way. "Is this all you have? You can't handle this mess with C-listers." They stammered, explaining that B-rank hunters were scarce. "We've called for backup, but we don't know when they'll get here." Meanwhile, Akan laid out the cold truth. If this spiraled, Bakami's career was over. But then came the twist. Bakami had a history with this gate. He'd fought its creatures before. He knew the boss, a level 47 Phantom Fox. For him, it should have been an easy kill. Akan exposed the whole scheme. Bakami planned to kill the boss, pin the disaster on Sir Razawa, and emerge as Morima's savior. "Time to end this," Bakami declared, stepping toward the gate. Then, the world erupted in fire and force. Screams echoed through the smoke. A colossal paw slammed down, shaking the very earth. Is that the boss? From the inferno, it rose. A titan, not one head, but a writhing mass of them, each wreathed in spectral fire. The junior hunters cried out in terror. The intel said nothing about this. Nothing. Its status window flickered into view. A level 55 summoner fox. The sheer wrongness of it was staggering. The boss had evolved. It had shed its old skin, its level skyrocketing, its power twisting into something new and terrible. The unstable mana hadn't just caused an overflow, it had forged a new nightmare. Bakami's blood ran cold. The Phantom Fox was gone. This wasn't a mission anymore. It was a catastrophe, far beyond a simple gate breach. Udanomiya's eyes widened at the level 55 notification. "How are we supposed to fight that thing?" he choked out. Panic set in. The two juniors knew their only choice was to fall back, to wait for help. "Fools," Bakami snarled. "We run now, and I'm finished. I'm the one who said this gate was safe." He puffed out his chest, a mask of false confidence. "I am a B-rank hunter. This is nothing I haven't seen before. A dark glint entered his eyes. You two, you'll be the distraction. Keep it busy while I land the killing blow. That's suicide, one of them yelled. We wouldn't last 10 seconds as bait against that thing. Bakami's patience snapped. A cruel grin spread across his face. So, you won't follow orders. I guess I'll just have to. Persuade you. He raised a hand. Asterisk. Berserk asterisk. A crimson beam of light shot out. It slammed into the two hunters. Red energy coiled around them like snakes, and they crumpled to the ground, screaming in agony. The times berserk times spell, a forbidden art of the beast warrior class. It supercharges a target's aggression, burning away their free will until only rage remains. And as they rose, mindless and roaring, Bakami smiled. He'd made human shields plenty of times before. He confessed, though, that the skill was a little rusty. He then punted one of the boys, sending the kid flying. With a cold command, he ordered them to charge the monster. His plan was simple. Let them be the bait, and he'd swoop in for the final blow. A sadistic grin spread across his face. He figured it was a good lesson. Nice guys always finish last in the world of hunters. The two, trapped under his skill's influence, rushed the beast with weapons raised as he watched from the sidelines. Meanwhile, the creature's back split open, revealing a grotesque, pulsating eye with an eyelid made of writhing hands. The monster activated times Polterus, times through the orb. In an instant, it surged toward the boys as debris began to levitate all around them. Ukami was stunned by the sudden turn of events, wondering how the monster could unleash an attack of that magnitude. As he dove for cover, chunks of the city rained from the sky. The boys screamed in agony, still ensnared by his skill, and he wrote them off as useless pawns. The hunter then spotted a massive piece of rubble hurtling his way. With a guttural roar, he shattered the debris using the skill times Beast King's smash asterisk. He realized the monster was using telekinesis. He knew, in that moment, that the creature's power dwarfed his own. The fox monster gave chase, pounding him through the skeletal remains of the city. He frantically wondered if the enemy was supposed to be this powerful. The monster closed the distance, its claws nearly grazing his back, pushing his senses to their absolute limit. Ukami noted its terrifying speed and drew his sword, raising a desperate guard. The monster's eye flared, charging another telekinetic blast. He blocked the wave of debris with his enormous blade. After deflecting a second projectile, Bukami felt the crushing weight of his decision not to dodge. With his guard broken, the monster lunged, its claws hungry for flesh. He crashed to the ground, the enemy's overwhelming strength undeniable. He thought about the sheer impossibility of fighting such a beast, how he could never win, before deciding none of it mattered. With that, he triggered his skill, asterisk, false death, asterisk. The ability allowed him to perfectly simulate death after taking a hit, stopping his pulse entirely. The monster stared down at his lifeless body, tilting its head when it sensed no heartbeat. The second the enemy was distracted, Wukami knew he had to escape. He scrambled to run, but the eye on the monster's back swiveled and focused once more. In a flash, the creature was on him, lunging with a devastating claw attack. The hunter was struck down, sprawling on the ground again, with the horrifying realization that the eye on its back could also see. He lamented that it was too late to run, a raw panic setting in. He refused to die like this. The monster loomed over him, preparing the final strike as a dark magic enveloped his body. Ukami was frozen by the energy, wondering if the creature was mocking him in his final moments. Then, the black mist invaded his body. He screamed in pure agony, with no hope of escaping his cruel fate. Finally, Akoma arrived in the ruined city, taking in the devastation wrought by the monsters. Hasha healed an injured civilian, whose eyes went wide with shock as his wounds vanished before him. Akoma told the man to run in the opposite direction, promising he wouldn't encounter any more monsters that way. The man stammered his thanks and fled. Hasha began to speak, but Akoma was already surveying the battlefield, his expression grim. He said they had to move fast to contain the overflow immediately. The young woman agreed with a solemn nod, acknowledging that he was absolutely right. She glanced at her phone. A full hour had bled away, and the situation was nowhere near resolved. Akoma knew the Ministry of Monster Eradication should have already taken down the Temple of Beasts boss. This long of a delay could only mean one thing. He had to assume the absolute worst had happened. Ukami struck first. He hit the woman hard, her scream of pain choked by shock. Then, he unleashed times Beast Claw asterisk. The attack ripped into the bald man. He groaned, gripping his weapon, and charged back in a furious counterattack. Steel crashed against steel. A malicious smile twisted Ukami's face as the other man glared, burning with rage. But a single, powerful strike sent him flying backward. "Captain Kurakawa!" the woman shrieked. Ukami just laughed. He sneered, "A B-rank hunter. You're tougher than you look. This wasn't just a monster disaster, it was a symptom of the calamity." In his corrupted eyes, the local forces were nothing more than insects, completely unable to handle this. With another chilling laugh, he lunged for the downed Captain Kurakawa, who desperately tried to raise a defense. But Akoma crashed the party, Bending gravity, he dropped from the sky, slamming into Ukami in midair to intercept the final blow. Those eyes weren't Ukami's. They were empty, feral. Akoma knew instantly he was a puppet. As the hunter hissed, the captain shouted a warning. "Don't fight him, kid. That's Ukami. He's on another level." Akoma exploded into action, his movements a fluid, deadly dance. Kurakawa watched, his jaw slack. This kid was dominating a B-rank hunter. He stared, completely stunned. He had never seen power like this from anyone, let alone someone so young. He noticed Ukami's attacks were crude, just brute force. A pale imitation of his true skill. The mind control was limiting him. Still, the power was immense. Asterisk beast claw times tore through the air. Akoma sidestepped it effortlessly. His opponent was getting angry, his movements growing wilder. Akoma saw his chance and activated times. Gravity increase asterisk. Ukami was slammed to the ground by an invisible, crushing force. Akoma followed up instantly, forcing a raw scream of pain. Stepping closer, Akoma asked, "Can you see clearly now?" Ukami glared up, a flicker of confusion in his eyes. "Akoma, is this still our training match?" The recognition vanished, replaced by a furious roar. "I'll kill you!" He was lost in a blind rage, but Akoma struck him down again. The puppet strings were too strong. Akoma readied his weapon. He knew Ukami's base level was higher than his. There was only one way to end this. "No more holding back," he said, his voice low. "It's nothing personal." He launched himself into the air, descending on Ukami. A kick snapped Ukami's head back. Akoma was already above him, channeling his power and increasing the gravity. He activated his skill. Asterisk meteor drop asterisk. He plummeted like a living projectile, slamming into his foe with devastating force. Ukami's scream was inhuman. In a flash, Akoma's blade severed his right arm, then tore through the ligaments in his leg. Immobilized, Akoma stood over the defeated hunter, breathing heavily. Kurakawa could only watch, trying to process the boy's terrifying power. He realized with a chill, Akoma had been holding back, precisely enough to disable, not kill, a B-rank hunter. Just then, Hasha and Satsuki arrived. "Dude, slow down," Hasha panted. Akoma apologized for his speed. "Sorry I rushed. Different classes have different movement stats. Get everyone clear," the bald man ordered, but Akoma knew it was already too late. There was no time. His eyes locked on the approaching horror, a grotesque, two-headed summoner fox. It was closing in fast. Evacuation was a fantasy. Satsuki and Hosa could only stare, paralyzed with dread. The beast let out a roar that sent a shockwave tearing through the ground. In a flash, Akoma's weapon was in his hand. The crushing weight of their reality set in, punctuated by the creature's chilling, mocking laughter. "What in God's name is that thing?" Satsuki choked out. Akoma's gaze hardened as he summoned the system's holographic menu. The scan confirmed their worst fears, a level 55 summoner fox from the Temple of Beasts, its power far exceeding any recorded data. He understood immediately. The energy overflow hadn't just lured it here, it had forced an evolution. Akoma grit his teeth. They were fighting an unknown, a monster with twisted new abilities he couldn't possibly predict. "If we kill it, will this nightmare end?" Hosa asked, her voice shaking. "Yes," he replied grimly, but taking it down as another story. As if on cue, the summoner fox unleashed its power, calling forth an army of level 30 phantom wolves. They materialized from the shadows, a swarming tide of beasts that surrounded Akoma, Satsuki, and Hosa completely. Her heart sank, picturing the city in ruins, the countless lives that would be lost if they failed here. Through the chaos, the monster's laughter echoed, a sound that reveled in the terror it was causing. "You two, hold the line. Take out these wolves and protect the survivors," Akoma commanded. "What are you going to do?" she cried out. "I'm going to end this," he declared, his eyes locked on the boss. "I'm killing that thing and stopping this overflow myself."